Chapter 303. The boat went against the current, following the original river that would stop after a certain distance. At this time, the river was no longer the same as before. There were boats going down the river. Some were carrying goods, and some were carrying people. All of them seemed to be very happy. "Father, this river flows through Huiyuan County. It's a pity that it was taken by the nephew of the minister. Otherwise, our family would have a big income." Zhong Xiaobao introduced the river to his father, who smiled from time to time. Zhong knew the reason. It was because he was the top scorer this time. After a lot of trouble, he finally got the top scorer. His family spent a lot of money for this. "Xiaobao, you are tired. You have to take care of the things at home, but you also have to worry about the things outside. Sai Tilda, you can even help me, your father, with his official career. It's all thanks to my son. If it was someone else, what would the Zhong family do?" Zhong looked at his son's chubby face and said with emotion. He had already stopped thinking about why his son was so powerful. That was not important. What was important was his son. Filial and sensible. Even if his son suddenly flew in the sky one day, it was still his son. Zhong Xiaobao did not care about tiredness. He really did not do anything. It was just a small matter. As long as he took some time to think about it, he could arrange it. With this waterway, the distance from the capital to Zhangjiazhuangzi was reduced by 2/3. The value of this waterway was reflected in this. The boat was in the front, followed by several boats. All of the things on the boats were bought by Zhong Xiaobao and Wang Huan. There were many things to eat, drink, and play. The capital was indeed the capital. It was much more prosperous than Sanshui County. There were also many kinds of goods. The two of them bought things for their family, for the villagers, and for the children. All of these things cost more than 500 strings of coins. Among them, there were many things that were not too expensive. Zhong Xiaobao and Wang Huan could imagine how happy the people in Zhuangzi would be when they returned. If they had taken a detour like before, it would have taken them half a month to reach their destination. However, now that they were going against the current, it would take them about 6 to 7 days to reach their destination. After 5 days, they entered the territory of Huiyuan County. While the boat was moving, many people suddenly appeared on the shore. The man on the left bank flung a rope to which a stone was fastened to the right bank. The man on the right bank caught the rope, and with a tug on both sides, the rope was stretched out in front of the boat. Zhong Xiaobao and the others were looking forward to going home one day later, but they didn't expect that someone would block the boat. Zhong hadn't taken office yet, so he couldn't use his identity as the county magistrate to pressure them. He originally had the 3 official titles of Cloud Cavalry Officer. Maybe someone forgot or something, but they didn't take it back. "Who is blocking the boat?" Who was responsible for protecting Zhong on the boat, shouted to both sides. "Your boat is crossing our river. Naturally, you can't do it for free. You have to pay. A boat needs to be paid. If you pay, the boat will go over. If you don't, go back the same way you came." A man on the left bank shouted at Zhong Xiaobao. The people on both banks also shouted a few times to boost their morale. Zhong Xiaobao smacked his lips and said, "It seems that we still have to put in some effort. Huiyuan County is not like Sanshui County. Unexpectedly, there are such unruly people. Should we use good words to educate them, or should we use violent means?" When Wang Huan heard Zhong Xiaobao's words, she carefully looked at the people on both banks and said, "I guess we have to use both. Looking at the clothes these people are wearing, they are not so poor. They actually found such a simple way to make money. They are very smart." She didn't say that they didn't work for it. After all, they threw a rope. A rope was actually nothing. If they wanted to go over, they could just go over. The key was that there was still a rope over there. If they wanted to go over, they had to break the rope. She was afraid that these people didn't throw ropes, but stones to the boat. That would be troublesome. Who shouted, naturally wouldn't give money to others. How could a river become someone else's? He immediately shouted again, "The person on the boat is Cloud Cavalry Officer, who is about to take office as the county magistrate of Huiyuan County. If you don't get out of the way, You will be charged with robbery. Whose words were effective. The people on the shore didn't know whether it was true or not. They could only say that they would rather believe it than not. They covered their faces with their hands, turned around, and ran away. The rope was also pulled by a person and disappeared in front of the boat. The boat continued to move forward, but Zhong Xiaobao didn't feel happy at all. If those people could think of a way to block the boat, they would definitely block other people's boats. If they didn't do something about it, who would be willing to take this road in the future? I have to talk to Grandpa Bai's nephew about this. He is in charge of the wharf. If every boat is blocked, then the wharf can't be prosperous. When my father takes office, he will start to deal with these people. I don't know what kind of resistance he will encounter. If there is someone like Zhongjia Zhuangzi here, it will be really difficult to deal with. Zhong Xiaobao planned to let Grandpa Bai's nephew test the water to see if it was deep. When the time came, he would think of a solution according to the specific situation. Wang Huan also thought of this situation. It depends on how the Yamen runners in the Yamen are. If they are like the Yamen runners in Sanshui County, then your father can't expect to do anything. He will be deceived all day long. There are also the county's deputy secretary and the county's deputy secretary. Originally, the deputy secretary also had the opportunity to be the county magistrate. Do you think he will cooperate with your father? I'm not afraid. As the saying goes, money makes the world go round. Let's try peaceful means before resorting to force. When my father takes office, we will give those Yamen runners some benefits and see what they do. If they are respectful to my father and obedient, then we will treat them better. If they take the benefits and still act contrary to my father, then we will let them see what we can do. Zhong Xiaobao had already decided that as long as his father took office, he would first gather the Yamen runners. Otherwise, if he couldn't do anything, how could he build up Huiyuan County? How could he make political achievements? He still had a lot of ideas that he didn't take out. He kept them for his father. Zhong was also thinking about the same thing. He didn't know what to do. When he heard the two children talking about the future, he felt that he was a little old, even if he was only in his 20s. After a short delay, the boat sped up again. Zhong Xiaobao stood at the bow and looked at the rushing water in front of him. He said to Zhong, "Father, the boat can't move at such a fast speed. When it comes to places with strong currents, it can't move anymore. We have to move bit by bit. Why don't you find some work for the people who don't have land to do after you take office?" "Xiaobao, what kind of work do you think we should find?" Zhong put his hand on Zhong Xiaobao's shoulder and asked softly. His son was too smart. He could think of a job that could increase the income of the people in the county in the blink of an eye. Trackers. Ask them to put in some effort and arrange for trackers to be sent to those places with strong currents. It's good to send trackers over there. It's just a few coins per tracker. Along the way, we have encountered 4 trackers. There are 2 trackers in the county now. When we move forward, we can send 10 trackers to each tracker. 2 trackers can send 20 trackers. If each family sends 1 tracker, then all 20 families will benefit. If we send 8 to 10 trackers a day, each tracker will earn 10 coins. 10 coins can buy a lot of things for the people. Needless to say, how much do you earn in a year? Zhong Xiaobao said to his father. However, Zhong was a little disappointed. "Xiaobao, there are only 20 or so families. Even if there's another tracker ahead, there will only be 30 families. It's still too little." "Father, it's not little. A small idea can solve 20 or so families. Think of a few more. Many a little makes a mickle. You can also ask those who don't have much labor at home to set up stalls by the river and sell some things. If the people on the boat want to eat and drink, or if they want to buy some trinkets for their families, they can solve some of the problems." Zhong Xiaobao knew that his father didn't have any experience in this area. Even if he learned a little from County Magistrate Cheng, it was just an armchair strategist. He didn't know how big of an effect it would be to solve the problems of a few dozen families with the poorest living conditions. He could only counsel his father slowly. When Zhong heard this idea, he felt that it was a good idea. He nodded. "Xiaobao, it's a pity that you are still too young. Otherwise, You should be the top scorer. If you were in the imperial court, the people in the imperial court would be blessed. Father, it's not easy to do things in the imperial court. You can't just do whatever you want. Obviously, your idea is good, but after some debate, you still can't do it. Father, if after you take office, the deputy magistrate and registrar in the Yamen are not on the same side as you can fight with them yourself. If you can't win, we can think of other ways. In the future, when you become an official in the capital, you can't avoid these kinds of fights. Politics is a kind of art. Isn't that right, Cuckoo? Zhong Xiaobao now decided to let his father train more, just like how he trained Wang Huan's father. Wang Huan's father was much more mature than before. After suffering a few losses, he finally learned some things. Zhong understood that his son was leaving him some face. What he meant by think of other ways if you can't win meant that if the father can't win, the son will do it himself. Sigh tilde. I wonder who's the father? The boat continued to move forward. Sure enough, they saw a place with turbulent water. This way, they could arrange for 3 places to pull the fiber cable. Each time, they only needed to pull the cable less than 1,000 steps. The boat was small, so it was not as tiring as the boats in the Yangtze River and the Yellow River. Those who were not willing to spend this much money could slowly row there. Seeing that they were about to reach home, those who were eager to return home continued to row even when the sky was dark. They had no intention of stopping. They wanted to reach home early. When the sun rose, they could already see the restaurant between the clouds and the water from afar. The people on the boat cheered. This time, they were returning with supreme glory. Those people had already seen Zhong Xiaobao's boat. The telescope was still very useful. When the boat got closer, the sound of firecrackers began to ring out. 4 Zhuangzi villagers gathered around, wanting to welcome the top scorer. Chapter 304. Zhong, who was on the boat, was also excited. He knew what his parents were thinking. They were waiting for him to pass the exam, but he suddenly became the top scorer. The top scorer could be born every year. In the future, the Zhong family would become a big family. He was already the top scorer, so Xiao Bao didn't have to worry at all. Or they could have a few more children in the future and let Xiao Bao teach them. Even if they couldn't compare to Xiao Bao, they wouldn't be too bad. There was also Cuckoo. When they grew up and had children, wouldn't they be even more powerful? 2 people teaching 1 child, and they could also teach 1 child. The Zhong family would no longer be the same as the Zhong family that had to sneak back when the imperial court was in chaos to get a wife. The villagers opened their eyes wide and controlled their breathing. They didn't dare to breathe too loudly, fearing that they would blow up the top scorer. The people of Zhangjia Zhuangzi were the most proud, especially the old men. They had watched Zhong grow up. They didn't expect that the naughty young master from back then would become the top scorer. The people of Zhuangzi and Zhuangzi were also happy. They didn't expect that the new master of the family would become a manor just by going around the capital. In the future, when they went out, they could say that they were the top scorers villagers. That feeling, wouldn't others die of envy? The Wang family and Zhuangzi villagers also had reason to be happy. Who didn't know the relationship between the Zhong family and the Wang family? The Zhong family was the Wang family, and the top scorer was everyone's. Under everyone's expectations, Zhong's boat sped up and stopped at the shore between the clouds and the water. Zhong didn't wait for the boat to come to a stop. He jumped onto the boat and knelt down in front of the old master without saying anything. Father, your unfilial son is back. Father, you don't have to worry about the Zhong family being unable to make a name for themselves. The old master narrowed his eyes and smiled, but he couldn't control his eyes. Tears flowed out and down his cheeks. The old lady also wiped her tears and went forward to help Zhong up. Zhong, get up quickly. Go back to the ancestral house and kowtow. The Zhong family has produced a capable person. All the ancestors are happy. Husband, I knew that you were very capable. Back then, when my family objected, I followed you here because I was waiting for this day. Before you came back, my family gave me hundreds of bolts of silk. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo also gave me longevity locks. They finally recognized you as their son-in-law. No one said that this concubine is a fool anymore. They all praised this concubine for her good eyesight. Husband, this concubine thanks husband. In a few days, this concubine will have the status of a noble lady. At this time, the Jiangwang clan came over and spoke to Zhongzhong with deep feelings. Her family had sent many gifts over in the past few days. At that time, the Wang family clearly knew that Zhongzhong had gone over. After sending people to pick him up, they didn't care. They thought that even if he passed, he would only get a B grade. At that time, they would help to mediate and become an official. Then, wouldn't Zhongzhong obediently go over? Who would have thought that Zhongzhong would actually become the top scorer? This was not only because of his talent. Without some power, no matter how talented he was, he wouldn't be able to become the top scorer. Because of this, the Wang family was anxious. Seeing that Zhongzhong had the ability, if they didn't go and express their goodwill, when the time came that he would ignore the Wang family, many people would laugh at the Wang family. It was just like the saying that one shouldn't bully a poor young man. In a short 5 years, Zhongzhong was no longer the person who didn't dare to refute. He was no longer the person who had to secretly take a wife with him. It was only in the past 2 years that the Zhong clan had transformed from a manor that barely made a living into the current Zhong clan, which was rich and famous. Yes, with a scholar who was the top scorer in the Jinsha examination, the Zhong clan could be considered a clan. After hearing his wife's words, Zhongzhong's eyes turned red. The sullenness in his heart completely disappeared at this moment. Who would dare to look down on him, Zhongzhong? Then, would the servants of the Wang family dare to say to him, "You are not worthy of my wife, give up"? Letting out a long breath, Zhongzhong said to the Jiangwang clan, "Qiao you have been wronged these past few years. I, Zhongzhong, will definitely fight for a higher title for you in the future." After speaking to his wife, Zhongzhong said to the old master and old master, "Father, mother, let's go back to worship the ancestors. At noon, I will have a good drink with the in-laws." Wang Huan's family was also watching from the side. They were also gratified by Zhongzhong's success. Cuckoo would have a better life in the future. Knowing that they were going to worship the ancestors, they didn't say anything and just laughed at the side. Zhongzhong's family returned to the main courtyard. After placing the incense, they began to kowtow and worship the ancestors. They talked about the unfilial descendants of the Zhong family and how they had done today. After a few words, it was considered that they had finished worshipping the ancestors. After that, they began to deliver things to the villagers. Zhong Xiaobao and Wang Huan had brought back things to be delivered. They also took out the things in the main courtyard storeroom. Everyone was happy. Even the villagers of the Li family and the Ji family in Zhuangzi received a gift. Zhongzhong went to find Wang Huan's father to drink. Zhong Xiaobao and Wang Huan ran to between the clouds and the water to see the old man. The two of them had to persuade the old man to plant cotton. When the old man saw Zhongzhong upstairs, he finally breathed a sigh of relief. If he really didn't enter the top 3, he didn't know how to explain it to Zhong Xiaobao and Wang Huan. He had already promised them. "Grandpa Bai, did you plant the white fold seeds that we asked people to bring back?" Zhong Xiaobao asked the old man when he saw him. "Yes, I did. I didn't plant them in the muddy ground. I found another place. The muddy ground can't be planted this year, so I have to turn it over." "Xiaobao, tell me, why are you raising so many flowers?" After the old man saw the flowers that Zhong Xiaobao and Wang Huan bought, he didn't have a place to plant them, so he put them in his nephew's field. Some of them died, but there were still more than 6,000 flowers left. It was quite a lot. "Flowers? Oh, yes, flowers. Grandpa Bai, those flowers are different from other flowers. We usually stuff cotton wool in the bedding. When the flowers bloom and bear fruit, they can replace cotton wool in the bedding. They can also be woven into cloth to make clothes. It's much better than cotton wool." Zhong Xiaobao explained to the old man. Wang Huan also said, "When the time comes, the price of silk will drop. More people will be able to wear silk, and more people won't have to worry about not having clothes. That cotton can be plucked." "Oh, it's the white fold seeds. Put it in a pot and steam it. If there are wounds on the body, Use that to bandage them with medicine to make the wounds heal faster. Oh, there's such a thing. I've never heard of it. I'll listen to the two of you this time. If it's really that useful, I'll submit a memorial to let the emperor know and plant it in some state capitals. The old man had never thought that the white-fold seeds could be used to make clothes. In the past, he had always thought that it looked good when it bloomed. Grandpa Bai, don't worry. It will definitely be useful. It's just that it will take some time to remove the seeds. Xiao Bao and I will think about it and make something to press the seeds. When the time comes, it will be convenient. The first bedding we make will be given to Grandpa Bai. Zhong Xiaobao promised the old man. The old man only thought that this was taught by someone else. He thought about using the white-fold seeds as a bedding in the future, but he didn't know how it would feel. When Zhong Xiaobao and Wang Huan saw that the old man had agreed, they bid farewell and went to find Li Zun. Li Zun also followed them back. He didn't want to stay in the capital. When he came back, he also brought some things. There were more than 100 watermelon seedlings with mud wrapped around the roots. This was his housekeeper's cold melon. It was an ornamental thing in the imperial gardens. Occasionally, people would eat it, but no one used the seeds to make melon seeds. Zhong Xiaobao had asked him what was in the gardens. Zhong Xiaobao didn't care about other things. When he heard Li Zun describe the watermelon, he became interested and asked Li Zun to get some to plant. This thing was easy to raise, and it was better to put it in the sand. When the time came, he would get some iced watermelon to eat. The seeds could also be used as snacks. The watermelon seeds tasted better than sunflower seeds. The layer inside the watermelon skin could also be used to cook. He could fry melon slices or eat cold. When the time came, he and Wang Huan would each hold half a watermelon and eat it with a spoon. The taste was really good. Li Zun planted these watermelon seedlings in his home. He specially chose a place with a lot of sand to plant. He didn't feel that this thing was good. It was just a little sweeter in the mouth, and he often had to spit out the seeds. It was strenuous. I planted it. It's all here. Take a look. I don't know why you are willing to eat this thing. Why don't you eat some peaches? When Li Zun saw Zhong Xiaobao and Wang Huan looking for him, he knew that it was about the watermelon. He took the two people to the place and pointed to the watermelon seedlings. Well, when the time comes, I will make something good for you to eat. You must have not eaten it before. Especially when it ripens in summer, you can use it to relieve the heat. You can't eat it directly. You have to throw it in the well town. When the time comes, I will make cold melon slices for you. It's not worse than cucumber. In the future, when you have time, you can go to the garden and have a look. If you find something strange, you will find it. Zhong Xiaobao began to promise Li Zun again. He also asked him to go more often in the future. If he found something that could be used as food but was treated as ornamental plants, wouldn't it be a crime? Then I'll wait for you to make some kind of melon slices. If it's not delicious, I won't take anything out for you in the future. Li Zun said with some doubts. He didn't think that this thing could be delicious. If it wasn't from Zhong Xiaobao's mouth, he wouldn't have any hope. Well, leave it to us. There is one more thing to discuss with you. Can you lend some of your guards? Not many, 20 are enough. Lend them to my father for a few months and then return them to you. My father is a new county magistrate there, and some things may not be so easy to do. Zhong Xiaobao finished talking about the watermelon and began to ask Li Zun to get more guards. Chapter 305. Zhong Xiaobao's original plan was to bring some local yamen runners over, but after thinking about it, he felt that it was impossible. There would definitely be conflicts between the yamen runners from both sides, which would make things difficult for his father. The local yamen runners would feel that the new county magistrate looked down on them, which would make things difficult for them. After all, the local yamen runners were the ones who knew the most about the local affairs. Those from outside would need some time to adapt to the local affairs. Li Zun's bodyguards would not have such concerns. Li Zun's bodyguards had a higher status, so the yamen runners would only think that the new county magistrate was capable. As for the specific situation, there was no need to think about it now. He would think about it when he encountered something. After some preparation, Zhong Zhong was about to take office. Originally, he wanted to bring his family with him. Zhong Xiaobao considered that the Yamen there would be very shabby and could not compare to Sanshui County. He planned to take a look at the situation with Wang Huan and his father first. After laying the foundation, he would let his family move there. At that time, Wang Huan's family would also move there. He couldn't possibly let Wang Huan see her family all the time, right? There were also some farmers. If possible, he could also arrange for them to leave a person in charge here. Anyway, the two counties were close to each other. It wouldn't take more than a day for them to come over and take a look. On the third day after Zhong Zhong returned to Zhuangzi, they set off. They drove a few carriages with some daily necessities on them. Most of them were gifts for the Yamen runners. The population of Huiyuan County was not less than that of Sanshui County. In fact, it was even more than that of Sanshui County. However, there were only 67 bailiffs in the whole Yamen. No wonder someone dared to stop a boat at the river. Try it in Sanshui County. As soon as you stopped a patrol boat, you would be scared to death. Zhong Xiaobao prepared a bag of noodles, a bag of rice, a barrel of vegetable oil, 2 chickens, and some cucumbers for each of the 67 Yamen runners. Now, the cucumbers in the normal fields had not come out yet. He would first send these things to the Yamen runners to see their reaction. If they knew how to be grateful and know how to know their place, then he would treat them well. Next time, he would send them fungus and tremella for their family to try. If they took the things and still scolded the new county magistrate behind his back for not doing his job properly and always dragging things out, Zhong Xiaobao would let them know what it meant to be stupid. Zhong Zhong sat in the carriage and put on his official robes. He had to go to the other side to get them. This was his first time being an official, and he was already a county magistrate. It wasn't a small position. He didn't count his previous position as an official. Other than being able to provide some food for his family, he didn't use it at all. The only thing it was useful for was to let the people from the inner court go out and say, "How's my manner?" Zhong Zhong was recalling some of the things that County Magistrate Cheng had told him. County Magistrate Cheng had taught him step by step without hiding anything. He had told him everything he knew, including some techniques for solving cases and so on. It was all based on his experience. For example, if you were to encounter some cases where you couldn't find the relevant information in the law, you could only rely on a certain one. If you didn't have a good relationship with them, who would teach you such a crucial thing? This was the ability to make a living. First, you have to accept the seal. Then, you will officially be in office. After that, you will have to solve cases in the Hall of Life. Who knows what kind of cases are waiting for you? Be careful. Brother Cheng had said that sometimes when a new county magistrate is in office, there will be people who will deliberately make things difficult for him. For example, the Zhong family's melons are planted in the Li family's garden and can't be taken out after they grow up in the jar. Also, the Wang family's pigs are mixed up with the Song family's pigs and can't tell which one belongs to which one. All these can happen. Well, the former one should be soaked in salt water and the latter one should be starved. When the time comes, they will go home to eat. Zhong Zhong sat in the carriage and muttered. He was already prepared to face what was coming. He couldn't hide from it, so he could only grit his teeth and bear with it. In fact, for officials like him who were sent out for the first time, they would start from the position of registrar official. The registrar official had fewer things to do and he didn't need to take on too much responsibility. He would only continue to be promoted after he had figured out the ropes. But Zhong Xiaobao couldn't wait any longer. The registrar official's authority was not as high as the county magistrate's. He just needed to spend some money to get a position as a county magistrate. He was also a rank 7 official. Originally, he could be promoted to rank 6, but Zhong Xiaobao asked someone to suppress it. After all, Zhong Zhong had contributed a method to grow vegetables in winter and was also the top scorer in the imperial examinations. Giving him a rank 6 official was not high. But Zhong Xiaobao knew that there was no such thing as a rank 6 official. Except for the 2 county magistrates who were rank 6 officials, the rest were all rank 7 officials. Some county magistrates were even rank 8 officials. If they were rank 6 officials, they would not be able to go out and be a county magistrate. Rank 6 officials were usually civil servants who did some things in Beijing. Xiaobao, can you tell me your original plan now? Why did you promote Sanshui County to Shong County? Why did you tell me so many things about the child? Wang Huan and Zhong Xiaobao were also sitting in the same car. She was still thinking about that matter. Zhong Xiaobao pretended to smile reservedly. After his face was pinched by Wang Huan, he said, I promoted Sanshui County for 2 reasons. First, our family's business needs more people. Second, I did it to show Huiyuan County. When the time comes, my father can write a notice saying that he wants Huiyuan County to be Shong County like Sanshui County. This is good. It can divert some of the people's attention. It can also give the people some hope. In the future, when my father does things in this name, the people will be willing to support him. It is like an inauguration speech. At least, it can let the people know that he is a responsible official. Also, when they know that Sanshui County was promoted by Zhongjia Zhuangzi and that the new county magistrate is the head of the Zhong family, the people will naturally feel that this matter is reliable. If they can promote one county, they can promote another. At the same time, the deputy secretary, the deputy magistrate, and the bailiffs will also know the benefits of being a Shong County. It can reduce some of the pressure on my father. Of course, maybe some people are too ambitious and want the position of county magistrate. Then, they will have to rely on their own methods. Once my father makes Huiyuan County a Shong County and becomes an official in the capital, how can he not be a vice minister? He can sit in the vice minister position for a few more years. He can also sit in the Ministry of Revenue, Ministry of Appointments, and Ministry of Works. When he is familiar with them, he can become a minister. He can also sit in 2 different positions. My father is still young. He can't be promoted too quickly. After all these are done, he can compete for the position of Prime Minister. Without Li Linfu, can An Lushan sit in that position? Even if he is lucky, with my father holding the power in the court, we don't have to be afraid of living in the abyss of suffering for the rest of our lives. Wang Huan nodded as she listened. When Zhong Xiaobao finished, she said, You are quite far-sighted. Do you think it will work? How do I know if it will work? I can't not think about it, right? When the time comes, I will deal with it as I see it. Anyway, this is how the county magistrate is now. Zhong Xiaobao was also not sure if his plan would succeed, but he had to work hard. I know. Xiaobao, you are indeed not ordinary. What about the children? Wang Huan asked again. Children? This is simple. It is to have my father specially train a few people like this to take care of the children. For example, setting up a nursery or something. Every family's children have to be taken care of by their own people. This will reduce the time to do other things. With a fixed place, a few people can take care of a group of children. This will allow those with children to worry less. At the same time, it will also free up the labor force. We will pay for this. It won't cost too much, but we will gain many benefits. As long as it succeeds, then in the court, my father's method will be valued. This is another contribution. It will give my father an additional layer of insurance when he enters the capital in the future as an assistant minister. The problem of children has always been a serious problem since ancient times, especially in an era where children are prone to die young. Whoever can make children live better lives will be respected. Children represent hope and the future. Zhong Xiaobao said this matter in one breath. Wang Huan listened and stared at Zhong Xiaobao's face. She nodded and said, Zhong Xiaobao, I have already admired you many times, but this time, I have to admire you again. You really have a long-term plan. Then, Comrade Zhong Xiaobao, tell me about the other rings. What other rings? Zhong Xiaobao was at a loss. Don't play dumb with me. Zhong Xiaobao's actions have always been linked. I don't believe that you will do things so simply. I want to know the other plans and arrangements. Wang Huan didn't buy Zhong Xiaobao's tricks at all. A person like Zhong Xiaobao couldn't be treated as a normal person. She had to be vigilant at all times. Even if it was a small matter, She had to think about what he was planning. Since you asked, then I will tell you a little bit. In fact, it was just an idea before, but now I have decided to stick to it. Zhong Xiaobao finally said again. Wang Huan looked at Zhong Xiaobao with an expression of sure enough. Well, if we gather all the children together, we will specially make some uniform clothes for them to wear. I have seen the children here. The style of the clothes they wear is monotonous. They even run back and forth naked. We will dress the children up and make them cuter. He can sell clothes in the future. Every once in a while, when others learn to imitate, we will update it. At the same time, we will promote our brand. We will brand toys, clothes, and so on. The children will be used to our things from a young age. When they grow up, as long as they see the same brand of things, they will choose first. I just thought of it because of the cotton. When the cotton comes out, we can ask the old man to plant more. When the time comes, we can make clothes for the children first. Pure cotton clothes are comfortable to wear. Before others react, we can have the advantage of time and make a lot of money in advance. Zhong Xiaobao voiced out his thoughts. Just like what he had said before, he was always able to discover things around him and then connect a few things together. He had just discovered cotton ball, so he came up with this plan. Wang Huan shook her head. I hope that Huiyuan County's department registrar and county deputy magistrate know what is good for them. Otherwise, they will not know what kind of people they are facing. Chapter 306. In the spring breeze, willow catkins stick to the carriage. Half a li away from Huiyuan, how many people are coming from afar? Zhong Zhong's team finally arrived at a place half a li away from the county town of Huiyuan after a bumpy journey. There was also an earthen wall made of mud and grass. In this season, there was also a spring rain, so there were weeds growing on the wall. Zhong Zhong pointed the monocular clairvoyance that Zhong Xiaobao asked for at the three people standing outside the city gate. Two of them were wearing the uniform of Yamen runners, and the other one was standing with his hands behind his back. They must be the people who were here to pick him up. There were only 3 people. Compared to when Jiaoshong arrived at Sanshui County, there were fewer people. Well, just a little. Zhong Zhong put down the clairvoyance and hesitated whether he should send someone to inform the 3 people or go directly to meet them. It was impossible for the 3 people not to see such a large team from half a li away. Why didn't they come over? Zhong Xiaobao didn't care about this kind of thing. Less than 300 meters away, he had already seen the 3 people. He lifted the curtain of the carriage and said to the people outside, "Continue to move forward." The team, which had already slowed down, returned to normal. This short journey only took a few dozen breaths. When the team arrived outside the city, the 3 people looked at each other, and under the lead of the person with his hands behind his back, came forward to welcome them. Is the person in the carriage the new county magistrate? His surname is Zhong Zhong, Lord Zhong. I'm the Huiyuan County's Kangji officer. My surname is He. Due to the busy affairs in the county, I was sent by the deputy county magistrate and the chief minister to pick you up personally. Thank you for your hard work. The person with his hands behind his back came to the front of the carriage and said to the carriage with the most obvious sign. When Zhong Zhong heard this official position, he felt a little helpless. They actually sent a 7th-class Kangji officer to pick him up. Thinking of what County Magistrate Cheng said, Zhong Zhong still walked out of the carriage. So it's He Kang's plan. It doesn't matter. My home is nearby. It's just a few steps away. Since the county is busy, we should go and hand over everything first. It's faster to have more people to do things. While speaking, Zhong Zhong didn't take the carriage anymore. He directly walked forward. The 20 borrowed guards immediately surrounded Zhong Zhong, frightening the 2 Yamen runners who wanted to approach him. These 20 people were all wearing leather armor, with knives on their waists and leather bags on their backs. Without opening the bags, one could tell that they were crossbows just by looking at the outside. The 2 bailiffs were secretly shocked. That He Kangji was quite knowledgeable. He smiled and said to Zhong Zhong, "Daren, the bodyguard of the Wang mansion is really different. There are some things in the county that are not easy to deal with. With such a brave warrior, I think the county will be much more stable.
Oh,
Could it be that there were bandits here? The Yamen runners in the county are not easy to deal with. Zhong showed a surprised expression and deliberately exaggerated his question. Kangji quickly waved his hand. Darren, what are you talking about? The new policy of the dynasty is peaceful. How could there be bandits near the capital? It's because there are too few Yamen runners. They can't travel fast enough. The deputy county magistrate and the secretary are discussing whether to hire more Yamen runners to listen to Darren's orders. At this time, Zhong Xiaobao and Wang Huan also got off the carriage and squeezed beside Zhong. When they heard Kangji say that they were hiring Yamen runners, they looked at each other and smiled. They thought of what happened when Jioshan came here in plain clothes. The Yamen runners used one move and spent the last bit of money. Could it be that Huiyuan County also wanted to learn this? Zhong also thought of this point, but he didn't care. If he had money, he would spend it according to the way he had money. If he didn't have money, everyone had no money. He wasn't like Jioshan who relied on the Yamen's money. He had enough money at home. At this moment, Wei Wei nodded and didn't say anything about this matter. Kangji also didn't mention it at the right time and talked about some trivial things in the county. Zhong listened as they walked and occasionally asked a few questions. He learned this from County Magistrate Cheng and never talked too much about things he wasn't familiar with. Wang Huan and Zhong Xiaobao followed with their little legs and looked at the situation in the county. The spring plowing in Sanshui County had already ended, but there were still a few people working here. Although it was not as prosperous as Sanshui County, there were still many people. There were shops and stalls on both sides of the street and the sound of hawking could be heard from time to time. When the people in the county bought things, they bartered. Unlike in Sanshui County, they could carry a few coins with them. There was also a difference in their complexion. They were not as rosy as the people in Sanshui County. This was not only a matter of food, but more of a matter of mentality. It's not bad. It's easy to get results in this kind of place. We just need to improve a little. Wang Huan pulled Zhong Xiaobao and moved her lips. Zhong Xiaobao also felt the same. What we need to solve now is the problem of team unity. It's more convenient to do things when the government is unified. It depends on what the original people want. They sent a mediocre official and 2 absent-minded Yamen runners to welcome us. How can such Yamen runners want to do things? He mustered up his courage and asked the guard beside him, "Who is the child who gave me the thing?" "The young master of the new county magistrate's family. Go back quickly to get the medicine for your mother. You will have a good life in the future." The guard didn't take any precautions against the child and said casually, "Oh, I know." The child carefully looked at Zhong Xiaobao and Zhong, turned around and left. He said to the chicken, Hua, let's go home. I won't sell it to you." The hen cooed and followed behind, pecking at the ground from time to time. Lord Zhong, the deputy county magistrate and the registrar shouldn't have returned to the Yamen yet. "Do you want to go to the restaurant to eat first, or?" Kangji asked Zhong. His tone seemed to be more respectful. "There's no hurry to eat. Let's wait at the Yamen and see where we will live in the future." Zhong had brought a few carriages this time. He had to distribute the meat on the carriages as soon as possible. Otherwise, it would spoil after a long time. He didn't prepare much meat. Each Yamen runner could get about 20 kilograms. The rest was to be frozen and used to cook at home in the next few days. Kangji didn't say much about this matter. He led the way and arrived at the Yamen. Sure enough, it was as dilapidated as he had imagined. The beating drum was gone, and the side of the drum was cracked open. The door of the Yamen was half closed and half open. Not only was the paint peeling off, the wood was almost rotting. One of the copper rings on the door was broken, and the other one was missing. People didn't want to enter this Yamen. Kangji blushed and said, "Sir, the Yamen doesn't have much money. We also need to help the people in the county. Therefore, we don't have enough money to repair the Yamen." "Okay." Zhong grunted and looked back at his son. Zhong Xiaobao didn't seem to feel anything. He still seemed to be curious. Chapter 307. Kangji coughed softly and said, "Sir, this way please." Only then did Zhong turn around and follow him in. When he got closer, he realized why the door was half closed. The door had actually fallen off and was propped up by a stick. If it was opened, it would be too obvious and wouldn't look good. The group of people walked inside, passing through the lobby in the front, and the courtyard used for doing things at the back. Walking further back, it was the place where Zhong and his family would live in the future. After turning a small corner, the future home appeared in front of them. Zhong was dumbfounded. The courtyard was overgrown with weeds. The roof of the dilapidated main house was full of holes. The paper on the windows had long been gone. Only the window frames were left, which were either open or closed. With a clang, a stray cat came out of a hole in the window and meowed at them. It twisted its body and ran away in the blink of an eye. From this courtyard to other courtyards, there were also houses that were too dilapidated for people to live in. It had to be said that this place was bigger than the courtyard behind the Yamen in Sanshui County. Unfortunately, most of the courtyards did not even have a house. There was only a pile of mud piled up there after the snow had melted. There were beams, doors, and windows. It seemed that someone had taken it back to use it or used it to make a fire. Zhong smacked his lips and asked Kangji, the previous county magistrate actually worked in such a dilapidated place. He was really a role model for us. My lord, county magistrate Wen didn't live here in the past. He had a house outside, but it's gone now. It's said that he sold it to someone else and his family moved away. Why don't you buy a house outside? Kangji lowered his voice and said to Zhong, "No, this place is fine. My family will find an inn to stay in for the next few days. When it is repaired, we will move back. If we don't live in the Yamen, it will be easy for us to get into big trouble." When Zhong came, he was already mentally prepared that the Yamen would be a little dilapidated. After discussing with his son, he could repair it and not live outside. However, he did not expect it to be so dilapidated. Well, his son liked a big place and his family was not short of money. He could leave it to his son. "Sir, there doesn't seem to be enough money in the Yamen's account to repair the courtyard. If you want to buy it outside, you can find a few local merchants to raise the money." Kangji had to remind him. Zhong smiled. "You don't have to look for others. I still have some money at home. I live in my own house and pay for my own repairs." Kangji, do you know how much money I have in my account? I'm not too sure either. It's true that I'm in charge of the warehouse, but there's not a single grain left in the warehouse. There's not even a single copper coin left. I heard that there's still around 30 strings of coins in the account, which is around 100 silvers. Kangji told Zhong the truth. He wanted to tell him that he was in a deficit now. There was money in the account, but there was no money in the warehouse. He had to find a way to make up for it himself. At this moment, Zhong looked at his son. Zhong Xiaobao and Wei Wei shook their heads. They meant that they couldn't use their own money to make up for the deficit in the warehouse. Building a house was one thing, but the Yamen's affairs were another. They didn't lack money, but they couldn't do that. Zhong understood. He said to Kangji, "There's no hurry now. Let's wait for this year's rent and tax to be collected. By then, we can repair the Yamen too." "Sir, there's no tax this year. We collected this year's tax in advance last year. County Magistrate Wen's case has been jointly reported by the Registrar General and the Deputy Magistrate. Perhaps County Magistrate Wen has been convicted of several crimes. I don't know if he can keep his life." Kangji brought up another matter. Before Zhong could react, Zhong Xiaobao and Wang Huan had already understood. When they were greedy, everyone was greedy together. Now, all the blame was pushed to County Magistrate Wen. The Registrar General and the Deputy Magistrate Wen had no responsibility. Naturally, they wouldn't return the money that they had embezzled. Good calculation. I like this kind of person. Zhong Xiaobao's lips moved. Wang Huan glanced at Zhong Xiaobao. "You should think about how to get money. The spring plowing has just ended. The tax that was supposed to be collected in autumn this year will be gone. You can't possibly collect it again, right? I don't know how the people are doing. They have to pay rent for 2 years a year. Can they still survive? It's a small matter. Take it slow. It's not like the higher-ups don't know what happened here. They just want to see what my father will do. We can only stay outside today. Let my father contact the deputy magistrate and the registrar general first. Zhong Xiaobao didn't care about this at all. He had lost a little money and collected a year's worth of rent in advance. It wasn't much. In the past, the officials he met could lose a few years' worth of rent and nothing happened to them. Zhong had seen the house and was only waiting for the deputy magistrate and the registrar general to come back. He would officially take over after the handover. Before that, he still had something to do. He said to He Kangji, since the Yamen is still in deficit, I think the bailiffs are not doing well. I have brought some things. Why don't we get the bailiffs and some people from the Yamen here? We can take the things back and deal with them for a few days. What are they again? Xiaobao, remember what you said before you came. Recite it for me. Zhong really didn't know what his son had brought. He could only let his son recite it himself. Father, are you testing me? I remember. A bag of white flour, a bag of rice, a barrel of vegetable oil, 20 kilograms of meat, 2 chickens, and some cucumbers. The bag of rice and noodles are 5 buckets each. When everyone is here, you can give them to them. Zhong Xiaobao had to support his father at this time and counted the things at the side. He Kangji and the 2 bailiffs were delighted when they heard it, especially the 2 bailiffs. Usually, they couldn't be greedy and could only bully the common people. The common people didn't have much money at home. It was good enough to get a few eggs. If they were more ruthless, they would catch and kill the chickens and eat them together. They didn't expect the new county magistrate to give them so many things. The rice was good, the noodles were good, and there was vegetable oil. What the family lacked the most was oil. If there was oil, they could eat some wild vegetables. If there was no oil, they would waste food. With the addition of meat, chickens, and cucumbers, they could make a lot of good dishes. Sir, is what you said true? Please wait, I will go and find people. I will find all 67 bailiffs and the rest of the people in the Yamen. In total, there are 13 people. When one of the 2 bailiffs heard Zhong Xiaobao's last sentence, he immediately ran out. Zhong looked at him and didn't say anything. The other 13 people were naturally people like He Kangji. The deputy county magistrate and the registrar didn't care about these things. It didn't matter whether they came or not. No one knew where they went. Otherwise, how could they not bring the bailiffs with them when they went out to do things? If they did, the bailiffs wouldn't say that they didn't bring all of them. Zhong Xiaobao originally thought that the 2 bailiffs could meet his father face to face and sound each other out. Then they would consider whether to confront or compromise. He didn't expect that they would directly use such an unpresentable method to make their intentions clear. In the future, they could only be enemies. After waiting for the other bailiffs to come back, they began to unload the things from the cart. Half of the 20 guards were divided into 2 groups to help, and the other half continued to be on guard. Some people from the Zhong family also did the work. Even He Kangji and the rest of the bailiffs didn't stand aside and just watched. Zhong, on the other hand, just stood there and watched as the bags of rice and noodles were moved down and put down properly. He also watched as the barrels of vegetable oil were poured out, but he couldn't find a topic to talk about. Zhong Xiaobao had to help at this time. He said to He Kangji, when my father came, he said that this is only a part of it. There will be more in the future. In Sanshui County, even the Zhong family can give the bailiffs some things they need, let alone our own people. You have to do a good job. If you don't do a good job, we won't give you anything in the future. Zhong Xiaobao deliberately said the last words that could easily offend people. Only in this way could people think that he was a child who didn't know how to behave. The bailiff who helped to move the things nodded and promised, I, Chi Da Fei, will definitely do a good job in the future. There are so many things to eat for 2 months. I will sell the cucumbers later. Haha. He Kangji was also not angry. He stopped what he was doing and stood there thinking for a while. Finally, he lowered his head and came to Zhong, saying, Sir, to be honest, I didn't go to pick you up today because of anyone's order. I didn't do a good job here at all. I heard that you are capable, so I took the risk to go there. The two of them also did the same. They are usually ostracized. If they can, they will try their best. When Zhong heard this, he didn't know whether to believe it or not. The main thing was that his son had used a trick. He guessed that he had arranged for people to be drawn to his side by Jioshan. What if they were also the same? So he said, it doesn't matter. It's not easy for everyone. It will be better if we work together more in the future. If we want to get some benefits, we have to let the people in the county live a good life anyway. This is the case in Sanshui County. Write a few notices tomorrow and let the people in our county know what I, the new county magistrate, am thinking. Sir, what are you thinking about? The bailiff threw the chicken down and asked curiously. I am thinking that since the Zhong family can promote Sanshui County to Shong County, Huyuan County can also be promoted to Shong County. Sanshui County has a wharf. Isn't there a wharf in Huyuan County about to be built? Zhong repeated his son's words and appeared to be very confident. He Kangji and the bailiff didn't expect Zhong to have such a plan. Their eyes lit up at the same time. Zhong took this topic and continued, as long as you do your job well, it won't take long for Huyuan County to change. At that time, the salary that should be increased will be increased and the people who should be promoted will also be promoted. Originally, I could be a 6th grade official in the capital, but I feel that I should do some things in Huyuan County. When the things are almost done, I will come to the capital. The benefits here will be left to the next one. The registrar Jean gave you last time isn't enough to buy medicine, right? He Kangji didn't show any mercy today. He glanced at Dianxia Jiang and said some harsh words to another person. Cao Dao pursed his lips and looked at the bigger chicken that was picked out. He sighed and said, it's my fault. I didn't expect the new county magistrate to come and give us things. I thought he would only give up after he dealt with some people. The new county magistrate is also good. But we're poor and have short ambitions. Let's talk about the future later. I'll go back and cook some meat for my son to eat. As he spoke, he directly walked out after receiving the things. He didn't take anything and needed someone to help him carry it. When the others heard his words, they also regretted it. They didn't care about the common people. Those who cared about the common people had already been cleared out. They were only here to get some benefits. The registrar Jean and the deputy county magistrate would occasionally give some benefits, but it was too little. The money they took out was less than half. No matter how rich they were, they couldn't compare to the Zhong family. Who would have thought that Zhong didn't deal with the people here first and gave them things first? They originally didn't want to take the things and forced Zhong to restrain himself. Now that he had given them things and they had just met, what should they do if they still took the things from him? Zhong didn't know the nature of these people. He was still worried that someone wouldn't take the things, so he left first to avoid embarrassment. He didn't know that the rest of the people had persisted until now because they wanted to get benefits. A group of people walked without a guide. They could only stroll slowly. When they saw a good restaurant or inn, they went in to stay. After walking for a while, they came to a 3-story restaurant. They looked up at the signboard and saw the words Jinlai Restaurant written on it. This is it. It looks good. Zhong decided to stay here for a few days. As for whether the restaurant was more luxurious or spent more money, he didn't care at all. When the group of people just arrived at the door, a sharp-eyed waiter came up to them. When he saw Zhong's official uniform, he immediately said with a smile, "Sir, are you here to eat or to stay overnight? Please come in first. Someone come quickly and take these horses to feed them. Use good ingredients." Seeing this waiter, Zhong was stunned. Zhong Xiaobao and Wang Huan were also stunned. The waiter's uniform had a picture embroidered on his chest. It was a very cartoon picture. A small rice seedling was placed there. Rice seedling? Which part is it? Wang Huan thought carefully and asked Zhong Xiaobao who was next to her. The restaurant in the state capital. Look, There are some weeds under the rice seedling. Why did they open their business here? Or did other people also think of the picture of the rice seedling? Zhong Xiaobao also didn't understand. Some of the businesses that his family sold out had their own unique symbol. Different rice seedlings represented different identities. He didn't expect that there would be a picture of a rice seedling here without his arrangement. The two of them looked at each other and stood out from the crowd so that the waiter could see the two of them. To be precise, the picture of the two of them was on their uniforms. Zhong was wearing an official uniform, so naturally, he didn't dare to embroider a rice seedling on it. The servants were behind him, so only the guards were around to block the waiter's line of sight. Zhong was also thinking. When he saw his son and daughter-in-law stand out, he quickly moved half of his body. The waiter's eyes immediately followed them. When he saw, his mouth immediately opened wide. After taking a closer look, he quickly bowed to Zhong Xiaobao and Wang Huan. It's actually the young master and young lady who came. This humble one greets the two of you. The two of you. Follow my father to take office. Zhong Xiaobao signaled with his eyes. With a putong sound, the waiter actually knelt down and said to Zhong, "This humble one didn't know it was master. I was negligent just now. Please forgive me. Who taught you the rules? Get up. Why did the restaurant open here?" Zhong was happy. His family actually had a restaurant here. He had a place to stay and didn't have to worry about being bullied. "Master, you, the young master and young lady go in first. Let this humble one slowly explain." The waiter stood up and said excitedly. He had never seen the main family's people before. He had only memorized the picture. He didn't expect to see 3 people from the main family today. Moreover, he served them. The waiter walked in front with his chest puffed out. Zhong and the others followed behind. When they entered the restaurant, everyone who saw the waiter became curious. Especially the other waiter, they didn't know what happened to Ju today. Ju wasn't like this normally. When they saw the Zhong family's servants, Zhong Xiaobao and Wang Huan coming in, their eyes widened in disbelief. The 2 little seedlings on Zhong Xiaobao and Wang Huan's chests weren't just cute in their eyes. They were status. The young master and young lady of the main family came together. The shopkeeper on the first floor was still using the abacus to pay the bill. At this time, he felt the difference in the surrounding atmosphere. He also turned his head to look. His hand suddenly stopped on the abacus and didn't move. The surrounding diners couldn't help but look over. When they saw Zhong's 7th-rank official robe, they understood that an official had come. Some people in the capital curled their lips in disdain and muttered to the people beside them, "That's right, Zhong. Only officials in this place wear officials' robes to eat. No one in the capital dares to, let alone a 7th-ranked official. There are more people in the capital than cow's hair. It's embarrassing to wear it out." When the group went directly to the 3rd floor, the waiters on the 1st floor quickly looked at their robes to see if there was anything inappropriate. Even the shopkeeper arranged the account book on the counter properly. Zhong came to a room on the 3rd floor and ordered the waiter, arrange for them and serve some home-cooked dishes. Those people were naturally the guards and the servants of the Zhong family. They were led away by another waiter on the 3rd floor. The waiter called Ju stayed and asked another waiter to tell him what to cook. He didn't ask for a menu and directly ordered 8 dishes in one breath. The waiter quickly ran down and told the chef in the kitchen behind. He didn't dare to let an ordinary chef cook. First, 4 small cold plates were served. Zhong tasted them and looked at his son. Zhong Xiaobao also took a bite. He ate shredded cucumber and dried tofu. He nodded and said, "It's okay. Remember to heat the dried tofu with hot water next time. Tell me about how you opened a restaurant here." Chapter 309. As Zhong and the others listened, the waiter, Ju, began to explain. This time, he was not as concise as usual. After a few words, Zhong Xiaobao and the others understood. The shopkeeper sent by the Zhong family could make a profit and make an investment. If he succeeded, he could continue to invest. If he failed, he would have to obediently guard the store. The one in the provincial capital was naturally a success. Zhongzhong was the first to enter, and there were 9 people there at the same time. With the booming business, the shopkeeper surnamed Xin became active. He went to Zhangjia Zhuangzi later. His family was in Zhuangzi, and he worked alone in the provincial capital. He used to run a small store, but he fled and followed his nephew here. In Huiyuan County, he had a nephew who worked as a cook. He had a lot of money, so he only handed it in once every season. Then he contacted his nephew. The original Jinlai building was run by a relative of County Magistrate Wen. County Magistrate Wen was unlucky. Without a backer, his relative wanted to sell the building, so he asked his nephew to buy it. However, the place was not under his nephew's management. It was directly under his name. Then, according to the Zhong family's rules of opening a shop outside, he would teach the shop assistants well and deposit the money into the account. When the season changed, he would send the money to the main family to make the main family happy. He had signed an irrevocable contract, so if the money fell into his name, it would fall into the main family's name. The waiter, N.A. Ju, left after he finished speaking, leaving Zhongzhong and the others in the room. Not bad. You have courage. You can seize the opportunity when you see it. That shopkeeper Xin can be trained well in the future. Father, are we going to live here? Zhong Xiaobao felt very gratified. He praised him and asked his father. Zhongzhong was also happy. This was his son's business and the rules were set by him. He did not expect to have his own business here. It seemed to be not small. It was a 3-story building. He nodded and said, "Let's live here. We'll move back when the yamen is repaired." At this time, the hot dishes were served one after another. There wasn't much of each dish. Zhong Xiaobao and the other 2 had been on the road for such a long time, so they were also hungry. They shook their cheeks and began to eat. While they were eating, the waiter named Ju came in again and said to Zhongzhong, "Master, I forgot to mention one thing. Yarman's Minister Zhon and County Magistrate Xiao are also eating on the 3rd floor. They are in the room next door. There are also some businessmen coming from outside." "Oh, did they come here to do something? Good, let's go take a look. Xiaobao, you and Cuckoo eat. Father will go over for a while." Zhongzhong wanted to see what the 2 men were up to, so he got up and walked out after informing his son. The waiter pointed at the side. In the room next door, laughter could be heard from the corridor. Zhongzhong wanted to eavesdrop, but when he just arrived there, a man came out. When he saw Zhongzhong, he was stunned. Then he looked at Zhongzhong's clothes, turned around and ran back in. Zhongzhong did not continue to eavesdrop, so he followed the man into the room. As soon as he entered, he saw the man talking to a fat man. "County Magistrate Xiao, I just saw a man wearing a level 7 official uniform at the door. Is he the new county magistrate?" "Yes, I am the new county magistrate. I wonder who is County Magistrate Xiao and who is Minister Zhon?" Zhongzhong looked at the waiter who reported the news and then looked at the messy table. He asked calmly. Everyone at the table looked at Zhongzhong at the same time. The businessmen were a little uneasy, while the fat man and the thin man changed their expressions a few times. "Haha, so it's Lord Zhong. We still have some matters to attend to here, hence the delay. Once we're done with the matters here, we will personally look for Lord Zhong to hand over the matter. By then, Lord Zhong will be the county magistrate of Huiyuan County. Haha, I'm the deputy county magistrate Xiao that Lord Zhong mentioned." The fat man smiled and said to Zhongzhong, but he did not stand up. The thin man beside him also said, "In the future, we will work together to do the things in the county." "Oh, it's late now. Lord Zhong, why don't you have a rest first and go to the yamen early tomorrow morning to take over?" The businessmen who were sitting there also smiled when they heard the 2 talking. At the same time, they were relieved and looked at Zhongzhong, wondering what he would say. Zhongzhong understood the meaning of the county magistrate's words. "You are not the county magistrate now. Wait until I take over. You are just an ordinary official now." Zhongzhong felt uncomfortable. He hesitated and said, "Well, I will go there early tomorrow morning. You wait here and do your work slowly." After saying this, Zhong turned around and walked out. Suddenly, he stopped, turned around, and carefully looked at the faces of those merchants. The merchants felt uncomfortable being looked at. They all stopped smiling and slightly lowered their heads. Zhong then said to the person who had just reported the news, "Brother Zhong, I'm going to tell you something. You are the copywriter in the county, right? Good, do a good job. You didn't even take the things I brought. You must be a good copywriter who is not flattering." After saying this, Zhong walked out and went back to his original room with a sullen face. Zhong Xiaobao knew that the waiter did not give him face and drove his father out. He advised, "Father, the official career is like this. You can't be straightforward. It is important to hide a knife in a smile and have a knife in the belly. What they did is actually inferior." Official business. It is definitely official business. I was just joking. Since His Excellency wants to do this, then let's go back now. The registrar official and deputy magistrate official could not say anything else at this time. As they said that they wanted to go back, they kept winking at those businessmen. Those businessmen did not expect that things would turn out like this. When they saw the two people's winks, they could only hold it in and think of a solution in the future. It seemed that it was not possible now. The 20 guards let the registrar official and deputy magistrate official go first as if they were escorting them. Zhong said to his son angrily in a low voice, "Xiaobao, you are right. They are indeed writing a document. They want to sell the land next to the river that connects to the capital city to those businessmen. That land is obviously fertile land, but they actually wrote it as a wasteland. It is really infuriating." When Zhong Xiaobao heard this, he smiled. He had seen this kind of thing many times. So what if there was one more time? He turned around and looked at the businessmen who were standing more than 10 steps away. He said to his father in a low voice, "Arrange people to watch those businessmen. Don't let them go. In the future, they have to contribute to the business of Huiyuan County." "Xiaobao, what do you want them to do?" Zhong asked puzzledly. He said excitedly, "Your Honor, are you going to hand over immediately?" "Your Honor, the most important thing in our county now is that river. The one that connects to the capital. I forgot. You know, from your house to the river, the land on both sides of the river is worth a lot. Your Honor, you must be careful. Otherwise, the land will be sold cheaply and our yamen will have no money." When Kangji said these words, he was gritting his teeth. Even if the registrar stood there and secretly glared at him from time to time, he still said it. Zhong had seen it just now and knew this was the case. But when it came from Kangji's mouth, it gave him a different feeling. He was now more certain that this small official with the surname he was ready to surrender. Otherwise, he wouldn't have said such an important thing to gain his trust. He nodded at Kangji. "This matter is indeed important. I will remember it." While they were talking, Deputy District Magistrate Xiao walked out of the signing room with a square seal made of brass in his hand. It was heavy. He reluctantly put it on the document and said to Zhong, "Your Honor, let's hand over now." Zhong took out the 2 letters. After verifying each other, he picked up the seal and the document. From this moment on, he was the county magistrate of Huiyuan County. He was ready to play a game of intrigue with these 2 people. At this time, Zhong Xiaobao and Wang Huan also came to the place where things were handed out. Each of them was holding a cucumber and gnawing on it. "Xiaobao, it seems that your father is not easy to deal with. The 2 of them are actually of the same mind. Should we try to drive a wedge between them first?" Wang Huan asked as she patted the bag of rice with one hand. Her hand was dusted. "It's fine to use it or not. It's just to deal with 2 small figures. If it's to deal with some ministers or prime ministers, I have to be well prepared. At that time, I may not be able to guarantee that it will work. But to deal with 2 people like them, it's not worth so much effort. They are not young either. One of them looks like he is almost 30, and the other is 25 or 26. If the chief secretary is 25 or 26, I will be worried. Many prime ministers started from this position when they were young. Although I have never heard of his name, it's a pity that the young one is the county magistrate. He is below the 8th rank. He has a lot of experience. The most important thing is that the two of them are on the same side as county magistrate Wen. If they didn't push all the blame to county magistrate Wen, they would be fine. The people above have long been used to this kind of thing. It's county magistrate Wen who is dealing with them. They still have to help stabilize Huiyuan County. But they refused. They are too cowardly. People like them can't expect to be promoted in the future unless they meet a noble. Otherwise, no one dares to promote them. If they are promoted, what if they commit a crime? Will they continue to push the blame to themselves? Zhong Xiaobao analyzed the situation for Wang Huan. Wang Huan also agreed. Sometimes, things in the officialdom were not as simple as they seemed on the surface. No one would hire someone who would hit a senior official when he was down at a critical moment. Then what are you going to do next? You have already watched the businessmen. You can't just watch them like that, right? Wang Huan asked again. Of course we can't do that. They are here to invest. We have to treat them well. Let Ernu lead them to the river to see the place. Tell them that they can buy the land, but they have to negotiate the price. Also, they have to tell them how to manage the land after buying it and how much tax they have to pay. Zhong Xiaobao had already come up with a good idea just now. At this time, it was just the right time to tell Wang Huan. Wang Huan thought for a while and said, they can negotiate the price and manage the land. But the amount of tax they have to pay seems to have been fixed, right? Do you dare to let your father decide the tax privately? I don't dare. There are still 2 wolves watching over there. But they want to do business. Both sides of the land are fertile land. They should pay the fine, right? As long as they occupy the land, they can be punished according to the year. After all, they have to farm every year. Is this okay? Zhong Xiaobao said another idea. Wang Huan nodded after hearing it. Good. You can even come up with this idea. That is, you are using the fine to replace the tax. How much are you going to pay? There are also rules for the fine, right? We have to see what can be planted in the land. If they say they want to plant millet, they will be fined a few strings of coins per mu. But if I say they want to plant fungus, how much do you think they will be fined per mu of land? What about vegetables in winter? Even if others know about this method, the price of vegetables will not be cheap. The cost of the vegetables is high. Then I know. It seems that we have to stop the deputy magistrate and the registrar from saying that the county magistrate agreed to occupy the land. Wang Huan could not calculate the fine for planting fungus. She still did not know the yield of each piece of wood. She had to let Pomegranate do the calculation. Don't stop them. We have to give them a chance to talk. Let them take the initiative to tell my father about occupying the land. Take it slow. Don't rush. Let's find Ernu first. I will tell him what to do. Zhong Xiaobao took another bite of the cucumber and said with a whimper. Zhong Xiaobao and Wang Huan talked while eating. On the other side, Zhong Zhong had become the county magistrate. He had to check some of the old account books and the records of the prison warden. Now, there were more than 120 people in the county jail. Chapter 3:11. After the registrar and deputy county magistrate left, Zhong Zhong and his companions returned to Jinlai building, where they had already prepared a place for them to rest. Zhong Zhong could have had the most well-protected courtyard, but no one had expected that he would choose a courtyard with a bad location. Zhong Xiaobao thought that there were 20 guards protecting the courtyard, and the environment was very good now. It was impossible to assassinate a county magistrate, so he agreed. When they were having dinner, he went to find his father. Dad, let me have a look at that seal. I'll take a good look at it tonight and give it to you tomorrow. Zhong Xiaobao said to his father before he and Wang Huan went to rest. If it were someone else, Zhong Zhong would not give it to him. But since his son wanted to have a look, then he had to. He wrapped the seal with a silk cloth and asked his 2 children to take it back. That night, The lights in the courtyard where Zhongzhong was resting were not extinguished the entire night. If one were to lean against the wall from outside, they would be able to see a figure with his back to the window moving from time to time in the study room. In a private house in Huiyuan County, Deputy County Magistrate Xiao and Registrar Zhon had not slept. They sat on the floor with some wine and dishes on the small table in the middle. They were eating and drinking slowly. "Brother Byong, do you think we can get rid of this new county magistrate? We know his family. They don't lack money. It's not easy to get him to be greedy or accept bribes." Registrar Zhon asked Deputy County Magistrate Xiao. Deputy County Magistrate Xiao picked up the wine and took a sip. He picked up the cleaned cucumber beside him and dipped it into the sauce bowl directly. He took a bite and chewed slowly. This cucumber was not bought by him, nor was it given to him by Zhongzhong. It was given to him by two Yarman runners. They wanted to please them, so they sent the cucumber to them. Seeing that they had accepted the cucumber, the two bailiffs were quite happy. However, they didn't know that the two men had taken note of the two bailiffs and decided to find an excuse to resign. The two men's thoughts were simple. After giving them so many things, they just gave them some cucumber to fool them. If they didn't resign, who would they resign from? After finishing the cucumber, County Deputy Xiao said, "Brother Shang Yun, if you want to get rid of him, it's impossible to make him accept bribes. But we can use other means." He took those booklets back. "What did we say at that time? Ha! Ha 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 ha." As he spoke, Deputy County Magistrate Xiao burst out laughing. Registrar Zhon was stunned for a moment before he also burst out laughing. He said, "Byong is so thoughtful. We deliberately left some flaws in those booklets. When he finds them, he will continue to look for them based on these flaws. At that time, he will offend someone he shouldn't offend." "That's right. And the person he offends has nothing to do with the flaws in those booklets. What do you think that person will do to him? What a pity. With so many booklets, it will take him a while to read them. Every month, he definitely won't be able to finish reading them. Even if he reads them for a month, he will just take a quick look at them. Those booklets are accumulated over several years." Deputy County Magistrate Xiao laughed for a while and finally stopped. He took another bite of the cucumber and said, "He is also a fool. He clearly gave the recipe for the winter vegetables, but he didn't want to be an official in the capital. It's not that others don't want to be an official, but he didn't want to be an official in the capital. It's not that others don't want to be an official, so the credit for giving advice will be gone. A good top scorer ran to a county. After a while, who will remember him? If I were him, I would be a 6th grade official in the capital. My family is rich, so I can find some people to get together and recite a few poems. My reputation will spread far and wide. The emperor has also built a pear garden. At that time, the emperor will definitely pay attention to him. Maybe he will be given a higher official position. Of course. Who doesn't know that the emperor likes music? As long as he writes a few more poems and the emperor sings more, it may be easy for him to be an assistant minister." Registrar Zhon also said with regret. At the same time, he was jealous. Why could a fool be the top scorer in the exam and come here to be a county magistrate? Wasn't this cutting off the road for him and others? The two people chatted while eating. They ate slowly. There were no hot dishes on the table, so there was no need to heat them up. It didn't matter if the wine was cold. They ate until it was almost midnight, but they still hadn't finished eating. They were still in high spirits. After eating for a while, there was a knock on the window. Deputy County Magistrate Xiao went to open the door. A man in grey lowered his head and said, "Zhongzhong hasn't gone to sleep yet. He has been reading the booklet." "Okay, go back quickly and see when he goes to sleep. When he falls asleep, come and tell us." Deputy County Magistrate Xiao ordered and closed the door. He went back to the place where he was sitting and sat cross-legged. "Brother Byong, how is it?" Registrar Zhon didn't hear the conversation between the two people, so he asked. "Okay, he hasn't gone to sleep yet. It seems that he is really a newcomer who doesn't know anything. Let's go and see. We will arrange something for him tomorrow. Let's see if he can still read at night. It's best if we can give him some refreshing medicine. At that time, we don't need to do anything else and he will be exhausted to death." Deputy County Magistrate Xiao smiled sinisterly. He picked up another beef tendon and threw it into his mouth. He chewed hard and said angrily, "I didn't expect that Jinlai restaurant is also owned by their family. In the past, when we ate there, no one dared to charge us. But they are good. They charge us nothing. I only found out today that there is an embroidery pattern of rice seedlings on their clothes. I don't know who drew the rice seedlings. It is so ugly. The waiter of Jinlai restaurant has such rice seedlings on his clothes. Zhongzhong's son and that little girl also have the same pattern on their clothes. Yes, I only found out about it today. It's just that the picture doesn't look too ugly. It's quite interesting. It looks like a person. There are even eyes. Well, it's not that ugly. Let's do what we thought of yesterday tomorrow." Registrar Jean originally wanted to praise the cartoon rice seedlings, but when he found Deputy County Magistrate Xiao's expression was not good, he quickly changed his words and talked about other things. "Well, let's do that. Don't let him be idle all day." Deputy County Magistrate Xiao was very satisfied with Registrar Jean's attitude. Originally, he should be in a lower position, but Registrar Jean was a little stupid and always listened to him. The next day, when Zhongzhong woke up and saw that it was almost time to do something, he walked out of the courtyard of Jinlai restaurant with a pair of red eyes. Zhong Xiaobao and Wang Huan's work and rest schedule had always been relatively stable, so they also woke up and skipped around for a while to do morning exercises. After freshening up and having breakfast, they also followed their father to the yamen. They were still holding the silk cloth package with the seal yesterday. When they saw their father, they gave it to him. "Xiaobao, you two take some guards and walk around this county. I have to deal with something in the yamen." Zhongzhong saw that the two children wanted to follow him, so he said to Zhong Xiaobao, "Father, I have never been to the hall of the yamen. I don't know how they solve the case. I want to go and have a look." Xiaobao knew that the two silly playthings were going to play tricks on his father today. Of course, he couldn't go anywhere else. He wasn't a child. He didn't have any thoughts and only thought about playing all day. At that time, the yamen runner asked you and Cuckoo to go and have a look at the hall, but you didn't go. Now you remember. Besides, there may not be a hall today. How can there be so many things? Speaking of this, Zhongzhong didn't know whether to be proud or laugh. The yamen in Sanshui County was no different from his own. When the yamen runners had nothing to do, they would ask his son and daughter-in-law to go there to play. However, the two children wouldn't go no matter what. The emperor's nephew also asked his son and daughter-in-law to go there and have a look, but the two children also refused. Now, the two children wanted to go with him. They were not ordinary people. It was not easy to go to the court, but it was easy to go to the court. When they returned to Sanshui County, they would go to the court from time to time. Presumably, Na Xiangxiang would not refuse, and the people would not say anything. Couldn't the children of the Zhong family go to the court to play once? Zhong Xiaobao could guess his father's thoughts, so he said, "In fact, I have been waiting for this day. When you get a hall, I want to see your majestic appearance. Then let's go." Zhongzhong didn't want to drive his son and daughter-in-law away, and the two children wouldn't make trouble. Under the protection of the guards, the three of them arrived at the yamen. As soon as they arrived, before they could go to the signing room at the back to take a look, there was a person wearing mourning clothes pounding on the silent drum. The pounding sound was ear-piercing. "Sir, you are finally here. Someone has been beating the drum since dawn." The yamen runner tried to persuade him several times, but it was useless. They didn't dare to do anything to him, so they had to let him continue. Fortunately, the drum is not loud. Otherwise, the people around would be awakened. Deputy County Magistrate Xiao came earlier. As soon as he saw Zhongzhong, he trotted over and said to Zhongzhong. Zhongzhong looked at the broken drum and naturally knew that it was not loud. He yawned and asked, "Do you know what happened?" "Sir, I have asked. His father is dead. He said that he was killed. He wants to come here and ask you to help find the murderer." Deputy County Magistrate Xiao told the case. He didn't write a complaint, but just said it with his mouth. This man was called Zhong Mazi. He came to Huiyuan County with his father 5 days ago. As a result, they met a group of criminals on the mountain in the east of Huiyuan County. They were attacked by the criminals. As a result, his father died. Zhong Mazi was lucky. But he didn't want to give up, so he secretly followed the masked criminals. He followed them to Yushu village in Huiyuan County and found that one of the criminals entered a yard. He waited there for 3 days. Then he knew that the criminal was Qian Guzi, a villager of Yushu village. Chapter 312. Zhong looked at pockmarked Zhong, who was kneeling on the ground. This person was crying so miserably that people felt that he would cry his last breath if he continued crying. He was wearing a white linen robe, which was not bright white. The robe was not dyed. It was just the original color of the linen thread. It was white, but it was a little gray. At this time, many people had gathered around. They all heard the man's crying and heard County Deputy Xiao's words. In the future, they all wanted to help Mr. Zhong seek justice. Zhong carefully looked at Mr. Wang, who was kneeling there, but couldn't find anything. He yawned again and said, "Is there a witness?" "My lord, I came here with my father." "How could there be a witness? If there was a witness, my father might not have been harmed." "My lord, you have to give me justice. I haven't taken good care of my father yet." Mr. Wang, whose voice had gradually become softer, started crying again at this time. He knelt there and hugged Zhong's leg, refusing to let go no matter what. Before Zhong could say anything, Zhong Xiaobao rushed over, grabbed one of the man's arms and tried to lift him up. He said while lifting, "My father is a good official. He will help you. Get up, get up." It was naturally impossible for a child to lift one arm. Zhong Xiaobao ran to Mr. Wang's back and put his hands on both sides. He wanted to hold Mr. Wang from behind and lift him up. He tried several times, but it didn't work, so he had to stand aside. Zhong yawned again and rubbed his eyes. His eyes were redder, and tears were about to flow out. County Deputy Xiao, who was watching at the side, said, "Sir, what's wrong with you? Did you not sleep well last night?" While speaking, he couldn't help yawning. Registrar Official Jean also covered his mouth and tears appeared in his eyes. "It doesn't matter. Let's get down to business first. Men, go to Elm Tree Village and bring that dog Tian here. Let me ask him why he did such a thing." Zhong forcefully shook his head and ordered a Yamen runner who was standing there with his head tilted. Seeing the Yamen runner look over and open his mouth to speak, he remembered that he hadn't given the Yamen runner the stick. He quickly walked into the hall. "My lord, you can't let the bailiffs arrest him first. You have to take a look at the corpse first. If this incident is fake, my lord, arresting Qian Guzi of Elm Tree Village and delaying his normal business, he will definitely be dissatisfied. The life of a commoner is not easy." Deputy County Magistrate Xiao said at this time. The person kneeling on the ground also said, "Sir, my father's bones are still outside. I don't know if they were eaten by the wolves. Sir, you'd better go and see my father first." Well, then let's go to the mountain and see your father first. We'll make plans after we come back. Zhong narrowed his eyes and said. Some related people here took the cart and went all the way to the mountain in the east. Zhong Xiaobao and Wang Huan sat opposite Zhong. Feeling the shaking of the cart, they said, "This road really needs to be repaired properly. So does the cart. Can't we use some bamboo boards to dampen the shock? Then let's make a cart with bamboo dampening. Let's see the effect. Should we make circles of bamboo and then put our cart on them?" Wang Huan asked beside him. Zhong Xiaobao thought for a while and said, "What you said might work. At that time, even if the cart doesn't move, we will shake back and forth in the cart. Dampening requires toughness and strength in addition to elasticity. To dampen the cart, we should start with the wheels. When the cotton comes out, we can wrap the wheels and then think of other places." Zhong listened to his son and future daughter-in-law talking about something he didn't understand. He decided not to listen and simply looked outside. Zhong Xiaobao suddenly said to him, "Father, later you pretend to be sleepy. When the time comes, they will be happy. I'm afraid that people are always so happy. When they are happy, it is easy to make mistakes. Let's wait. Father, I have to say that your idea is really good. What's so good about it? Isn't it just a paper doll, facing the back of the window, lit the lamp, and let the guards who take turns to keep watch use a rope to pull it? Then apply some garlic juice on the eyes. County Magistrate Cheng has already told me about it. This idea is just SOSO. Zhong said modestly, but he couldn't hide the proud expression on his face. Zhong Xiaobao wanted to continue to flatter his father and make him happier, but he really felt that flattery was a little false. This little trick was nothing. When he was hesitating, Wang Huan suddenly pinched him secretly and moved her lips to say white lies. Father, I don't think it's simple. I think that all tricks are simple. If it can deceive people, this needs to be grasped. If it were someone else, even if they were told such a trick, they might not be able to do it. Not to mention, Father, you did it so well. Father, that pockmarked Zhong's hemp clothes are actually new. They cost at least 20 copper coins. He didn't bring a bag with him. Where did he get the money to buy hemp clothes? Also, the flesh on his body was hard. His son had pinched him when he helped him up. How could this kind of person watch his father be harmed and run away alone? If that dog Tian was an ordinary person, how could he beat him? Even if there were several people, it wouldn't work. At that time, people would risk their lives regardless of their own safety. If he didn't risk his life, he wouldn't care about his father. If that dog Tian was not an ordinary person, but a strong and powerful person, the first person he would deal with would definitely not be pockmarked Zhong's father. If he traveled normally, who would take the money? Dog Tian wouldn't kill people for fun, right? In any family, money should be taken by the strongest person. Money is also heavy. Zhong Xiaobao first said a sentence of kindness. Yes, that lie. Then, he told his father his analysis. Zhong was also confused just now. Pockmarked Zhong had waited for 3 days to find out who killed his father. He had waited for such a long time, but when it was time for him to arrest Dog Tian, he couldn't wait anymore. Then why didn't he find his father's body at night and drag it to the yamen? Wasn't he afraid that the surrounding people who knew Dog Tian would report to him? At this moment, after hearing his son's words, he was sure that pockmarked Zhong was lying. He must be with County Deputy Xiao. Xiao Bao, how should we deal with this matter? Do we have to be involved in this matter to become a father? Zhong thought it through, but he didn't know how to deal with it, so he could only ask his son. Zhong Xiaobao was about to speak, but Wang Huan pinched him again. Zhong Xiaobao hesitated for a moment, and then said, Father, when I was reading the Analects of Confucius a few days ago, I didn't understand a sentence. Didn't you finish learning the Analects of Confucius? Father Zhong asked doubtfully. Yes, but I suddenly found that there was a difference. He could use another way to understand it, Zhong Xiaobao said. Which sentence? Zhong asked. Raise one corner, but not 3 corners, and the opposite is no more. This sentence. As Zhong Xiaobao spoke, Wang Huan was stunned. She didn't know what Zhong Xiaobao could say. His little brain works too fast. While listening to Zhong Xiaobao, she picked up a glass of juice and drank it. What do you think? Father Zhong didn't know what his son meant. Did he want him to draw inferences about other cases? What about the other one? Zhong Xiaobao took a deep breath and said, I think the meaning of this sentence is like this. I raised a wall to smash you. If you don't raise 3 walls to fight back, then you don't exist. In other words, you are finished. This is what it means to raise one corner. If you don't counter with 3 corners, then there will be no more. Fat. Wang Huan spat out a mouthful of juice and kept coughing. She looked at Zhong Xiaobao with admiration. How did he think of this? Zhong listened to his son and thought carefully. That's not right. You can't say this sentence like that. Dad, you're right. I know the meaning of this sentence. I'm just saying it. When I think of how that pockmarked Zhong randomly found a corpse to trick us, I also feel that way. Isn't he just a corpse? Let's make 3 corpses. If he dares to hit us, we'll hit him. Zhong Xiaobao was anxious. Why didn't his father take the bait? He explained again. Father Zhong pondered for a while. After a while, he said, then find 3 people to wear hemp clothes and follow them. When they suddenly appear, they will tell their families about it and look at the corpses. Then it will be easy. Elm Village is not an ordinary village. It's not easy to go there. That's why they lured me there. Dad, you're really amazing. I didn't think of that. Zhong Xiaobao quickly followed up. Zhong Zhong frowned and reached out to touch Zhong Xiaobao's head. Xiaobao, you're my son. Blue is blue, but blue is blue. Ice water is colder than water. As a father, I'll only be happy if my son is capable. Don't talk nonsense in the future. Zhong Xiaobao was stunned. He didn't expect his father to not be as stupid as he thought. He just didn't say it sometimes. He nodded. Dad, I'll say whatever I want to say in the future. Dad, send someone to Elm Village to look for that dog Tian. Tell him that someone is framing him. When he comes, everything will be clear. Okay, I'll listen to Xiaobao. Xiaobao, tell me again. What about those merchants? Zhong Zhong asked again. He didn't think about why he was like this. After all, he didn't study psychology. He didn't know that he was like his son, especially caring about family. He used to listen to his parents. After he found a wife, he studied for his wife and parents' wishes. Now that he had a son, he was willing to let his son have a better life. He never felt that he would lose his position in the family. He felt that no matter how powerful he was, he wouldn't dare to disobey his father. His son was the same. Zhong Xiaobao opened the car door and jumped out. As the car was moving, he fell when he landed, scaring the surrounding people. Only Wang Huan thought it was normal. If he didn't fall, he wouldn't be Zhong Xiaobao. The speed of the body rolling was just the speed of the muscles and bones that could bear the force. This was the real Zhong Xiaobao. He whispered something to the person who carried him. Zhong Xiaobao was sent to the car that had stopped. When the car started again, Zhong Xiaobao smiled and said, "It's all arranged. I accidentally fell. I need 100-year-old ginseng to treat it. Dad, you have to buy 100-year-old ginseng at all costs." Chapter 313. The news that the county magistrate's son accidentally fell off the carriage was soon known by the surrounding people. Zhong Zhong took this opportunity to stall for time. He stopped the carriage and carried Zhong Xiaobao, who pretended to be unconscious, out of the carriage. He kept shouting to find a doctor. Only the guard who carried Zhong Xiaobao knew that the young master of the Zhong family was fine when he heard Zhong Xiaobao's order. The others who saw the scene were guessing how badly the county magistrate's son was injured. It wasn't easy to find a proper medical student in Jiayuan County. Fortunately, there was Jinlai Restaurant. According to Zhong Xiaobao's request, the restaurant would hire a few doctors or doctors like those in the capital. The people here immediately went to look for the person from Golden Descent Tower, who was slightly less skilled than a doctor. This person was still an apprentice, so he took Zhong Xiaobao's pulse. He thought of many possible scenarios, but he couldn't match them. He frowned and fell into deep thought. Zhong Zhong felt that he had wasted enough time. He said to the doctor, "Doctor, how do you think my Xiaobao is?" "This. It's hard to say. He may have hurt his head when he fell. I'll give you a prescription first. Take the medicine according to the prescription and let's see." The half-baked doctor could not see what was wrong, so he tried to give a prescription. Even if he did not wake up, nothing would happen to him after taking the prescription. The guard who left just now came back at this time. He nodded to Zhong Zhong and said, "Sir, do you think we should not go to the mountain this time? The young master is still unconscious. What if?" "Don't say more. Since I am the county magistrate, I naturally have to make decisions. I will take care of Xiaobao along the way. We must go there." Zhong Zhong spoke with a strong sense of righteousness. His voice was not soft, and the surrounding people, including the registrar official and the deputy district magistrate, could hear him clearly. Just now, when they were in the carriage, they heard that the county magistrate's son had accidentally fallen off the carriage. They even asked the person beside the carriage. After getting confirmation, they were overjoyed. At this time, when they heard Zhongzhong's words, they could not guess whether Zhongzhong really cared about the situation in Huiyuan County or if he was pretending to be sad. But in any case, when the people knew that the new county magistrate could continue to do things for the sake of Huiyuan County, they remembered Zhongzhong. The registrar official and the deputy county magistrate were helpless. They could not care about the people's thoughts. Looking at the people's deep eyes looking at Zhongzhong, the two of them sighed at the same time. Brother Byong, this Zhongzhong is really good. At this time, he can still bear the injury of his beloved son and continue to do things. It seems that it is not easy to do things. The registrar official said to the deputy county magistrate. Deputy County Magistrate Xiao couldn't do anything about this. Seeing Zhongzhong, the new county magistrate, trying to win people's hearts, he looked at the baby in his arms and said, Brother Shangyun is right. Then we can only take it slow and tire him out for a few more days. It would be best if the one called Xiaobao continues to be in a coma. After saying those words, Zhongzhong squeezed out a few more drops of tears. He carried Zhong Xiaobao back to the carriage. A while later, the doctor was ordered to prepare the medicine and send it to Zhong Xiaobao to drink. Amidst the chaotic cries of good official from the people, the procession went to the mountain in the east again. At this time, pockmarked Zhong was a little scared. He adjusted his pace slowly and came to the side of the registrar official and the deputy county magistrate's carriage. He found an opportunity to get close to the deputy county magistrate's carriage and said to the inside, Officer Xiao, should I continue to follow them? If the county magistrate finds out something and his son is injured because of this, he will vent his anger on me. What should I do? What should I do? Shut up. It's too late if you don't want to do it. Let me tell you, if something happens because of you, you don't have to think about it. Deputy County Magistrate Xiao said in a low voice. The more pockmarked Zhong thought about it, the more scared he became. He had no choice but to grit his teeth, look around, and continue to follow the procession. He would cry from time to let others see his sad face. Deputy County Magistrate Xiao, who was sitting in the carriage, also felt that this matter was a little awkward. It seemed that it was not so smooth. But after all, he did not know where the business trip was. He was obviously scheming against the county magistrate, but he felt depressed. At this time, Zhongzhong had already let go of Zhong Xiaobao. Looking at his son sitting there as if nothing had happened, he thought of the situation when his son jumped down just now and asked, Xiaobao, are you really okay? Dad, don't worry. This carriage is not fast and the carriage is not high from the ground. What can happen to me? Dad, don't forget what I said. After today's matter, I will put up a notice to ask people to get some 100-year-old ginseng. We can buy it with our own money or we can agree to some conditions of the people who send the ginseng. Zhong Xiaobao was really okay. If there was something wrong, it would be that his clothes were dirty. Not to mention the potholes here, the sanitation was not good. It was not like Sanshui County, where there were special dustbins on both sides of the road in the county town. He did not know who had eaten something, but there was a big stain on Zhong Xiaobao's leg. It was oily and it seemed that it could not be washed clean. Zhongzhong could not figure out why his son made such an arrangement, but he did not ask too much. When the time came, his son would tell him. What he needed to do was to release the news. Seeing his son frowning from time to look at the stain, he said, Xiaobao, in the future, I will make Huiyuan County like Sanshui County. I will repair the roads, especially the county town. Even if we can't use long blue stones to pave the roads, we will use some stones and yellow sand to press them down. At that time, we will also put a dustbin at a certain distance on both sides of the road. I have known this for a long time. Not only can we make the streets look comfortable, but we can also gather the people. The people in Sanshui County are much better than the people in other counties. Zhongzhong said what was on his mind. At the same time, he decided that he could not always study in the future. He still had to read books, but he had to choose the right time to see more of the outside world. Otherwise, he would become a bookworm and would be useless. After leaving the county town, the speed of the procession increased slightly. There were fewer people watching, and only a few curious people followed behind. Zhongzhong's words had spread throughout the county town in a short time. In a few days, all the people in Huyuan County would know about it. At that time, Zhongzhong's reputation would increase. The mountain in the east was not close to the county town. The procession did not arrive until it was almost noon. Zhongzhong walked to the front with an uneasy heart. He said to Zhongzhong, who got off the carriage and looked back at his son, "County Magistrate, you have to help me. My father's bones are in front of us." Zhongzhong's face showed a trace of grief. He looked at the carriage again and walked forward resolutely. He said, "Lead the way, where is Kaiswa?" The person in charge of this matter in the Yamen stood up. He also received something from Zhongzhong yesterday. He, who had a low status, could receive something from the county magistrate, so he was very grateful. He did not deliberately not go to greet him yesterday, but even if someone went to greet him, it would not be his turn. Hearing the county magistrate's call, he quickly ran up from behind and said respectfully, "Sir, I am here. Later, you have to take a good look at how that person died and how long ago he died." Zhongzhong ordered. "I understand." Kaiswa was clear in his heart. Last night, he received a full amount of money. The person who came only told him what to do today, but did not mention who gave him the money. If it was in the past, he would have just listened. But the things he brought home yesterday were worth a lot, especially the cucumber. He sold it for more than 200 coins. At this time, he had already made a decision. He was going to do an honest check, not only because of the things he got yesterday, but also because the county magistrate did not care about his son's injury for the sake of Huyuan County. As a local, he felt that he should do something. Zhongzhong did not seem to dare to look at Kaiswa. He kept muttering to himself. Others could not hear him clearly. If they could hear him louder and clearer, they would know that he was saying, "Deputy County Magistrate, you have to arrange it well. Otherwise, when he does not follow what you said, I am finished." Of course, Zhongzhong did not know how effective his words were. He followed pockmarked Zhong to the top of the mountain and asked the others to stop first. He only asked pockmarked Zhong, the deputy district magistrate, the chief registrar and a pestle to go over, in case there were too many people. Zhongzhong walked directly to a big tree and pointed at a corpse with torn clothes and said, "Sir, this is my father. Father, I have asked the county magistrate to come here. I will definitely avenge you." As soon as he finished speaking, Zhong Mazi burst into tears. As soon as his cries rang out, the same cries came from the side, even more miserable than his. Everyone looked in that direction and saw 3 people wearing mourning clothes. Their eyes were red and swollen. They rushed to the corpse and just like Zhong Mazi, they only cried, but none of them threw themselves at the corpse. "Who are you?" Zhongzhong asked even though he already knew the answer. "County Magistrate, the person lying on the ground is my father. I couldn't find him a few days ago. I didn't expect him to be here." One of the 3 people shouted first. A woman beside him also said, "Sir, this is my father. He said that he went up the mountain to pick herbs, but he never came back. Sir, this is my cousin. He left home a few days ago and did not come back. I didn't expect that he would die here." An old man also joined in the fun. Chapter 314. The sudden appearance of the 3 people stunned everyone except Zhongzhong, especially the deputy county magistrate and the registrar. They looked at the situation in front of them and looked at each other. From each other's eyes, they knew that this matter was not arranged by them. Pockmarked Zhong was also stunned. He knew what had happened to this corpse. It was dug out from another grave and dragged here. Did someone really come here to identify him? Then he would be exposed directly. He dared to lie about the case and let the county magistrate's son pass out on the way here. He had not woken up until now. Wouldn't the county magistrate peel off his skin? What should he do? What should he do? The more pockmarked Zhong thought about it, the more scared he was. He stopped crying and turned to look at the deputy county magistrate. At this time, the deputy county magistrate was also nervous. He was afraid that one of the three people was really a relative of the deceased. Would pockmarked Zhong tell the truth about him? At that time, Zhong would send a booklet to the county magistrate and he would be finished. He also looked at pockmarked Zhong. When they looked at each other, they saw the panic in each other's eyes. The deputy county magistrate signaled pockmarked Zhong with his eyes and shook his head. He meant to tell pockmarked Zhong that he could not tell the truth about him no matter what. Pockmarked Zhong opened his mouth slightly. He looked at the corpses on the ground, then looked at the three crying people over there. He raised his head and looked at the county magistrate who was sneering at him. With a thump, he piled up on the ground. At this time, Chuays were started to do something. He went to check the corpse one by one and stood up. He did not look at the deputy county magistrate and the registrar. He knew that the money was probably given by these two people or one of them. Therefore, he only said to Zhong, "My lord, I've finished my investigation." The wounds on the victim's body were inflicted a few days after he died. There was no thick blood flowing out at all. It was all blood from his body. There was also a hole in his clothes. It was made with the same knife. There was a gap on the knife. Since pockmarked Zhong said that several people besieged him, it was impossible that there was only the same knife. Besides the knife wound, there were no other wounds. "I have finished." When Zhong heard this, he didn't say anything. He just nodded and looked at pockmarked Zhong. He just stared at him, unblinking. Zhong Ma's eyes were filled with fear. He looked at the county magistrate and then at the county deputy. He couldn't say a word. "Zhong Mazi, how dare you make a false report? I think you don't want to live anymore." The deputy district magistrate couldn't hold it in anymore. He glared at Zhongzhou fiercely and rushed towards Zhongzhou. He kicked him and shouted at the same time. "County Deputy Xiao, what do you mean by this? This official hasn't even said anything yet and you're already acting on this official's behalf." Zhong watched from the side and didn't stop him. He simply said a few words. County Deputy Xiao deliberately turned his back to Zhong and kicked Zhong Mazi while blinking his eyes. Zhong Mazi used both of his hands to block back and forth. Suddenly, he couldn't stand it anymore. He grabbed County Deputy Xiao's leg and flipped him over. Pockmarked Zhong rolled and crawled to the front of Zhong. He said to Zhong, "Sir, County Magistrate, I know my mistake. I deliberately went to the Yamen to report to the officials and deceived you. But I had no choice. I had committed some small crimes and should have been locked up. But I was released after I gave them some money. Sir, 2 days ago, County Deputy Xiao found me and asked me to do this. Otherwise, he said that he would continue to lock me up. I had no choice. Sir, please have mercy on me. I know my mistake." Pockmarked Zhong Mazi was ready to risk everything this time. Even if he took the blame, he didn't believe that County Deputy Xiao would help him. He told the truth with the thought that if he couldn't get out of this, County Deputy Xiao wouldn't help him. Nonsense. Zhong, County Deputy Xiao and the registrar official shouted at the same time. It was still acceptable for County Deputy Xiao and the registrar official to shout, but Zhong also shouted, so the two people didn't know what to say. Zhong gave County Deputy Xiao a reassuring look. Then he said to pockmarked Zhong, "Wicked person, you not only deceived us to come here, but also dared to frame County Deputy Xiao. Where are the Yamen runners?" "Here." Several Yamen runners ran over. "Come on, tie pockmarked Zhong up. We'll punish him when we go back." Zhong shouted. Several Yamen runners took out ropes and started to tie pockmarked Zhong Mazi up. Pockmarked Zhong Mazi naturally didn't want to be tied up. He struggled while telling County Deputy Xiao how to arrange this, which made County Deputy Xiao panic. Fortunately, when he looked at Zhong, he found that Zhong was calm all the time. It seemed that he didn't believe what pockmarked Zhong Mazi said. Zhong obviously knew what was going on. If he wanted to get County Deputy Xiao involved, it was very easy. He just needed to send pockmarked Zhong to the capital together with him. There would naturally be a way to find out the truth. But he couldn't do that now. He had to make use of the registrar official and county deputy Xiao. Pockmarked Zhong Mazi struggled for a while, but he still couldn't get rid of those Yamen runners. Finally, he was tied up and his mouth was stuffed, which made County Deputy Xiao feel much better. Lord Zhong, since you know that pockmarked Zhong Mazi is lying, should we go back? County Deputy Xiao didn't want to stay here any longer. It was more important to go back and lock up pockmarked Zhong Mazi. But Zhong didn't want to go back now. Guzi Tian from Elm Village hadn't come yet. He had to know why County Deputy Xiao and the registrar official wanted him to go there. What exactly was there? After hearing County Deputy Xiao's words, he said, "Don't be in a hurry. There are 3 people here to identify the body. Let them identify it carefully. You 3 come here and see if it's your relatives." The 3 people originally came here to help. They were the people who did odd jobs behind Jinlai restaurant. At this time, when they heard the master's words, they understood that he wanted them to stall for time. The woman came close first and looked carefully. Then she walked slowly around the body. She didn't say anything until she felt that it was enough. Then she shook her head. "Sir, this is not my father. I came to the wrong place. I'll go back now." "Sir, I won't be arrested, will I?" "Of course not. You didn't report it to the officials. You just came here to take a look. Then go back." Next one. How could Zhong punish his own people? He called the old man over there. The old man also came over to take a look. Then he looked at the road where they came from. Seeing a figure running towards here, he said to Zhong, "He's not my cousin either." "Sir, I'll go back too." The other guy was more straightforward. "I just saw that my father doesn't look like this. Maybe he has already gone home. I'll go too." At this time, the person who was running towards them had also arrived in front of them. This young man was very sturdy, more than 6 feet tall. According to Zhong Xiaobao and Wang Huan, he was more than 1.8 meters tall. This guy ran to the place, looked at the people around and asked, "Who is the county magistrate?" "I'm here." "You are Guzi Tian?" As soon as Zhong saw this young man, he felt happy. This young man's name was not very pleasant to hear, but he looked upright and honest. Moreover, he gave off a simple and honest feeling. "Sir, I didn't kill anyone. I've been staying at home. The house over there is going to collapse again. I have to fix it." Guzi Tian said honestly, "I know you didn't kill anyone. You were framed by someone. This person is called Zhong Mazi. He said you brought people here to kill people. Do you have a grudge against him?" Zhong pointed at Zhong Mazi and asked Guzi Tian. Guzi Tian looked at Zhong Mazi carefully and shook his head. "I don't know him. How can I have a grudge against him? Why does he want to frame me?" At this time, the gag in Zhong Mazi's mouth was taken out. He took a deep breath and immediately said, "It's not me. I didn't frame you. It's County Magistrate Xiao. He asked me to say so. Guzi Tian, if you want to find someone, go to County Magistrate Xiao." When Guzi Tian heard this, he looked at County Magistrate Xiao. County Magistrate Xiao took 2 steps back and said, "I didn't say it. It's not me. It's him. It's Zhong Mazi. I didn't go to your place to collect taxes. It's exempted. It's already exempted." Zhong watched from the side and understood some things. Perhaps County Magistrate Wen and the others had gone to Elm Village to collect more taxes. Since they did not want to pay, they did not seem to dare to use force. That was why they wanted to send him over. When the time came, not only could they capture Guzi Tian, but they could also mention the matter of collecting taxes. At that time, the people they couldn't deal with would be handed over to him. It didn't matter whether he could deal with them or not. After this, he wouldn't be able to do anything else. Zhong wanted to know about the matter in Elm Village, but he wouldn't ask now. He said to Guzi Tian, "I'll go back and investigate this matter. You go back with me now. I have something to ask you." "Sir, you didn't wrong me. You're a good official. I'll go with you." Gu Zitian glared at the registrar official and county magistrate Xiao. Then he followed behind Zhongzhong and went down. Zhongzhong deliberately yawned again. When the registrar official and county magistrate Xiao saw it, they felt better. They planned to continue to make trouble and not let Zhongzhong have a good rest. Zhongzhong brought Gu Zitian to the side of the carriage. Thinking that his son was still pretending to be sick, he said to Gu Zitian, "My son fell when he came here. When we go in later, you will sit beside me." After saying this, he opened the carriage door. Zhong Xiaobao was already lying there. His head was resting on Wang Huan's lap. He was motionless. Gu Zitian glanced at Zhong Xiaobao and sat beside Zhongzhong obediently. Fortunately, the carriage was high enough. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to sit down. "Gu Zitian, how are the days in Elm Village?" Zhongzhong wanted to understand the situation there, so he started to ask about it. Gu Zitian shook his head. "Sir, it's not good at all. As long as it rains, there will be black water rushing into the fields. There isn't much food growing in the fields. Sir, look, there's a lot of black mud on my shoes." Chapter 315. Wang Huan looked at the sticky stuff on Gu Zitian's clothes. Even though he said it was coal, he had to clean it thoroughly. She reached out her hand and wiped it off. She put it in front of her eyes and looked at it carefully. She asked, "Brother Tian, didn't anyone dig this coal in your village?" "No. Who would dig this thing? It's useless." Gu Zitian looked at the little girl in front of him and didn't dare not to answer. The person who could sit in the county magistrate's car would not be so simple. Wang Huan couldn't understand. According to the records, it seemed that coal had been used since the Western Zhou dynasty. In the Tang dynasty, it was used to make cokes. Why didn't anyone use it? Was the output not high? Was the quality of the coal not good? She wanted to ask Zhong Xiaobao, but Zhong Xiaobao was pretending to be unconscious. Just now when she was talking about the coal, Zhong Xiaobao didn't move at all. He was quite calm. "Cuckoo, what's the use of this thing?" Zhongzhong looked at his daughter-in-law who was lost in thought and asked. "It's faster to make rice bloom." Wang Huan could only think of this use now. As for smelting iron, she and Zhong Xiaobao had tried, but they didn't succeed. They would try again in the future after thinking about it. "Is this thing good?" Zhongzhong asked again. Wang Huan couldn't say how good the coal was at this time. She just said, "It's okay. Let's talk about it later." Zhongzhong turned his head and continued to ask Gu Zitian, "How much grain can you harvest in a year?" "1 mu of land. Less than 1 shi. Some of them only have grass." The original county magistrate was there at that time. Last year, when there was a drought, he still wanted to collect the original rent. It still took 2 years. The 300 people in our village were ready to fight. Later, they were afraid and didn't dare to come and collect the rent. Once Gu Zitian mentioned this matter, he clenched his fists and his voice grew louder. It was so loud that even the people outside could hear it. The chief secretary and the deputy district magistrate's car was not far away. Both of them also heard it. They sat there with different expressions. The Yamen runners who followed them also heard it. They sighed almost at the same time. There was no other way. They had no choice but to go. It was all according to County Magistrate Wen's words. Who would dare to not go? Fortunately, the new county magistrate's family was rich. They did not know how much money they had. They only knew that on the first day he came, he gave more than 100 strings of coins. Now, he did not have to worry about collecting rent from Elm Village. 100 strings of coins was not something that could be collected even after 10 years in that shabby village. Zhongzhong didn't expect County Magistrate Wen to be so greedy. He said angrily, "This is not just greed. This is murder." "My lord, you are right. If we really hand over the rest of the food, we will starve to death. My lord, will you go and collect rent?" Gu Zitian had always felt that this county magistrate was quite nice. He actually allowed him to sit in the carriage that only county magistrates could sit in. He could even speak so amiably. Therefore, He felt that this county magistrate would not collect rent. Zhong did not directly say that he would not go. Instead, he said, "That will depend on how your village is doing in the future. If there is a lot of food, I will naturally go. If there is little food, there is no need. I will not take the rent even if I collect it." "Oh, then there probably won't be a lot. If the land is not good, my lord, is it because you don't have much to spend in your daily life? Do you have few people in your family?" Guzi Tian asked again. "Yes, few. There are only about 2,000 people. They usually don't go to other places to eat. They just eat casually at Jinlai restaurant." "Do you think I will be greedy for that little bit of rent?" Zhong felt that Guzi Tian was simple and honest, so he deliberately teased him. Sure enough, after hearing Zhong's words, Guzi Tian was shocked. He opened his mouth wide and his throat moved. He said, "My lord, why are there so many people in your family? There are 3 farmers in Zhuangzi. That's all I have. And that Jinlai restaurant is also owned by my servant." Zhong wanted Guzi Tian to go back and tell this matter. When he went to Elm Village, the people there would not have to worry about him collecting rent. Guzi Tian looked at Wang Huan opposite him. Wang Huan nodded and admitted this fact. "My lord, then you must not be short of money or food." "My lord, I want to get off the car. I want to go back and tell the people in the village that they don't have to be afraid of the new county magistrate coming to collect rent for 2 years. No matter how much we pay the rent, it is not as much as the Jinlai restaurant owned by your servant. My lord, you still have Zhuangzi at home. There are 3 of them. You don't have to worry about food anymore. My lord, let me get off quickly. I will kowtow to you first. You are a good official. A good official who is not greedy for money is a good official." Guzi Tian spoke excitedly and insisted on getting off the car. Zhong thought for a moment and asked someone to stop the car. He asked, "Then do you still have food now?" "Yes, my lord. It is spring now and the wild vegetables are all out. As long as you get some wild vegetables and mix them together, you can eat them. Our place is Elm Village. We can eat elm money and elm leaves, as long as there are no insects on them." Guzi Tian seemed to think that eating some wild vegetables and elm money was a good day. He happily gestured to Zhong and even told him a few ways to eat them. Wang Huan looked at Guzi Tian, who was happy to eat wild vegetables because of the arrival of spring. She closed her eyes and lowered her head to look at Zhong Xiaobao. Zhong Xiaobao's mouth actually curled up. He seemed to be very happy. Wang Huan pinched Zhong Xiaobao's lips hard. Only then did Zhong Xiaobao's lips move. "Elm tree money is really delicious. First, I'll ask my father to send them some food. After we're done with those 2 people and get rid of them, we'll go over there to dig coal and give them some compensation. We can also ask them to help dig. Their lives will be better than other places." Wang Huan thought about it and agreed. There was no need to be sad. They could send some food, oil, meat, and other things now. The past could not be chased. It was fine as long as they lived a good life now. "Brother Tian, in fact, you can ask for some food back. My father-in-law will give you some in the future." Wang Huan finally spoke. She was still too embarrassed to call him father-in-law directly. She was not as thick-skinned as Zhong Xiaobao, who kept calling his father father-in-law. Zhong understood. His son and daughter-in-law must have discussed and prepared to give food and other things to Elm Village. He also said, "Guzi Tian, give me a number first. How much do you need for the entire village? When the time comes, I will get Zhuangzi to give it to you. Sir, we work and eat our own food. We can't take other people's things for free. We don't have anything to return." Guzi Tian actually did not want it. He clearly knew that with one sentence, the people in the village would have enough food, but he did not ask for it. Zhong now understood why County Magistrate Wen did not dare to send people to forcefully take it. It was the custom of the people. When they saw that others did not want it, they could only look to Wang Huan. Wang Huan also secretly praised. This was what it meant to have a backbone. It seemed that the entire village was like this. This village was going to be successful. She advised, Brother Tian, it's not for free. In a few days, you will have to help out with work. When the time comes, it will be calculated from your wages. It's quite tiring work. Really? You're not lying to us. Guzi Tian also wanted to eat better, but he could not take other people's things for free. The people in the village would not agree. Now that he heard that he could exchange it with work, he asked hopefully, Really? How much does Brother Tian want? Wang Huan asked again. Guzi Tian started counting with his fingers. How much do you want? If one person eats 1 kilogram of food a day, how much food do 322 people eat a day? 200 kilograms of food. No, it's more. 250 kilograms of food. Wang Huan listened to Guzi Tian's counting and finally understood the importance of education. She had to say, Brother Tian, do you only eat food? Of course, it's expensive to only eat food. You can also eat some meat and fry some wild vegetables with oil. That day, about half a kilogram of food will be enough for adults and children. 322 people, each person will eat half a kilogram of food a day. First, give 1 kilogram of food for 30 days a month, 4,830 kilograms. Let's give 1 kilogram of meat a day, that's 966 kilograms of meat. No, it's 603 kilograms of meat and 12 kilograms of meat. Let's give 1 kilogram of meat first. Let's have a good meal of dumplings first. We can't give the meat all at once, or it will spoil. What do you need? Wang Huan listed the quantity of all kinds of things in one breath. They only gave 1 month's worth. They could go there to dig coal before the next month. At that time, they would be paid directly. Those who were willing to ask for money would give them money. Those who were willing to ask for things would give them things. Guzi Tian listened to Wang Huan's counting and didn't know how she got it. He nodded in agreement because he wanted to have meat. Then let's have these first. With the oil and water, we don't need to eat so much food. You have to work for us quickly. Otherwise, we have to find a way to pay you back. At this time, Zhongzhong knew that his son and daughter-in-law were going to do something there. He said, Well, we'll definitely work for you. If there's no work, we'll find people from your village to be government runners. We'll deduct from there and transport the food there tomorrow. Guzi Tian got off the carriage happily. As soon as his feet touched the ground, he turned around and knelt down. He kowtowed to the carriage and said, Sir, you're a good official. We, the people of Elm Tree Village, won't forget you. In the future, you can go to Elm Tree Village and have a look. We'll carry you all the way. We won't let your feet touch anything black. After saying this, he kowtowed 9 times. He stood up, looked up at the sky, and strode back. The government runners didn't know what was said in the carriage just now. When they saw Guzi Tian kowtowing to the new county magistrate and saying that he would carry him all the way, they felt as if they had seen something incredible. When did the people of Elm Tree Village become so easy to talk to? Looking at the county magistrate's carriage, there was an unusual feeling in their eyes. The registrar and the county magistrate also heard what Guzi Tian said. They were even more jealous of Zhongzhong, who didn't know how to conquer a village. Chapter 316. After Guzi Tian left, they wandered around for half a day before returning to the yamen at night. Before resting, Zhongzhong wrote a notice. He wrote that he needed a lot of ginseng that was more than 100 years old. They could come over to sell it or exchange it for something that could be fulfilled. When the notice was posted, many people were anxious. They heard that the new county magistrate had put his son's matter aside to deal with the case. Now, he was going to get ginseng for his son. Everyone was asking around. Some people even wanted to go to the mountains to see if they could find ginseng. Some did it for money, some wanted to ask the county magistrate for help, and some just wanted to help the county magistrate's son get better. The registrar and the deputy were very happy. Now, there was one more thing for Zhongzhong to think about. They could not do anything else. The registrar, Zhong Kaijin, originally wanted to find something to do tomorrow and send Zhong to a faraway place to work. However, he was stopped by the deputy, Xiao Kai brother Shang Yun. We can't do this. What if that person says that it was us who ordered him to do this? Zhong will be angry and send both Zhong and that person to the capital. If the people there really find out something from the interrogation, we can't think it through. His son has not woken up yet. Let's wait until nighttime to see if he is still reading those books. If he is still reading them, he will not have much energy tomorrow. Brother Byong is right. We can't continue to take risks. Doesn't he want ginseng now? Why don't we find some ginseng for him? Those businessmen who came over are still being detained by him. When the time comes, the fertile land can be turned into a wasteland. Then, we can reap the benefits. The registrar finally thought of the best idea. The deputy listened with a smile on his face. However, he was a little unwilling. Zhong Kaijin had thought of a good idea. If he could not think of it, it would mean that he was not as good as Zhong Kaijin. Hence, he said, this is not right. We can't do this. We should tell those businessmen. They know a lot of things. You have to learn more in the future. Otherwise, it will be easy for you to get into trouble. Brother Byong is right. We should let those businessmen take care of this. We have to be quick. Otherwise, when the weather gets hotter and it rains a few more times, someone else will think about it. Chief Secretary Zhong Kaijin was easy to talk to. If someone pointed it out, he would listen. After that, he said, Brother Byong, that Zhong Mazi is just locked up now. He hasn't been interrogated yet. Do we need to do that? Speaking of this, he gestured around his neck with his hand. The county deputy hurriedly waved his hand and said, You can't do that. Didn't you see that we left 4 guards behind tonight? Even the food that the prisoners ate was prepared by Jinlai Tower. If we want to make a move, it'll be easy for him to get hold of our weakness. We need to plan for the long term. That's fine. Let's take the long term into consideration. Fortunately, the food was delivered from Jinlai restaurant. Those people who were locked up seemed to have been starving for 3 days. Let's take away the money and food in the account. If we don't give them something to eat, they will starve to death. Chief Secretary Zhong Kaijin said with a lingering fear. Deputy County Magistrate Xiao also just thought of this matter. In the past 2 days, he was so focused on how to deal with County Magistrate Zhong that he forgot about the people in the prison. The Yamen runners didn't go there either. Today was the 3rd day. While they were thinking about the prisoners in the prison, Zhong Xiaobao was also thinking about it. There were more than 120 prisoners in the prison. From the files, it seemed that they didn't commit any serious crimes. Some of them didn't pay the rent and tax, some of them snatched the steamed buns to buy steamed buns, and some of them stole money from others on the street. What was even more ridiculous was that one of them ordered 6 dishes in Jinlai Tower and ate all of them by himself. Then he didn't have money to pay the bill, so he was locked up. Jinlai Tower was originally owned by County Magistrate Wen's relatives. The test papers of more than 120 prisoners were directly drawn out. There was no time to care about the rest. Zhong put 2 cucumber slices on his eyes. After reading them one by one, he said to the guard next to him, Tomorrow, you protect Erniu and take those merchants to the riverside to have a look. Also, take a walk around the wharf. I'll ask the county deputy and the chief secretary to follow them. They must walk around for a day so that I can handle the case and release them. Yes. The guards carefully trained by the prince's mansion were indeed different. They answered directly. Zhong closed the papers and lay down to rest. Naturally, someone would turn on the lamp and put the dummies in place. When it was that person's turn to keep watch, he would pull the rope every once in a while. Zhong Xiaobao and Wang Huan brought back some things they wanted to learn, so they rested in one of the rooms. They would only wake up after a while. The 2 of them lay on the bed, thinking about the coal. They couldn't fall asleep, so they could only chat. Cuckoo, there must be a lot of coal yellow, which is amber. We can dig it out and make jewelry for you. Zhong Xiaobao said to Wang Huan. I don't want that. I want diamonds. You'd better think about how to use the coal. We can't just put it there. Wang Huan was not interested in those things. How else can we use it? Of course, we'll burn it. First, we'll find blacksmiths and ask them to help us melt the molten iron. Then, we'll make something like a furnace. Then, we'll continue to burn it in the furnace. Then, we'll make all kinds of blast furnaces, open hearth furnaces, and converters. Then, we'll start to use those to make guns. After that, we'll make cannons. After that, we'll make cannons. Just keep dreaming. Seriously, Wang Huan interrupted Zhong Xiaobao. She moved the pillow and turned sideways comfortably. Seriously? Look at Li Zun's bodyguards, they all have crossbows. We can make our own. A fully metal crossbow, the kind that you have to step on to load. When the time comes, we can use it to shoot birds for fun. If not, we can make knives. We can make fewer of them. When we have nothing to do, we can just take one and hide it. In case something happens, we can use it to protect the seedlings. As for the rest, we'll make some daily necessities, such as kitchen knives. In the future, all the chefs in our restaurant will use steel knives and scissors. We can sell them. Or we can wait and let the blacksmiths work hard to make more steel ingots. Then, we can sell them to the country. Well, we have to keep it a secret. Maybe other places are using coal to make things. Also, we can use it for heating. The simplest is honeycomb coal. We won't mix it with other things. We can use yellow mud and coal. We can also use it in the kiln. That's what we'll do. Zhong Xiaobao really could not make use of the key advantages of coal, such as gas. He could only think of ways in his daily life. He planned to store the coal first and use it to make things. The only problem was that he did not have a high-pressure water gun. It would take a lot of time and effort to decompose the coal. Then let's do that first. How much do you plan to pay the people in Elm Tree Village? Wang Huan could not think of a better idea. Let's calculate according to the amount they mine. Let's see how fast they mine. Anyway, we can't give them too little. They should become the richest village in Huiyuan County. Zhong Xiaobao had long planned to make them rich. With a coal mine nearby, it would be bad for their reputation if others knew about it in the future. Wang Huan did not think too much about this. As long as the people in the village could earn more money, she would see if she could pull the people in the village to her side in the future. Deputy County Magistrate Xiao and Registrar Zhon still did not go to bed early at night. Yesterday was basically equivalent to staying up all night. After all, it was the first day and they wanted to see more. Today, they still ate and drank in the small house. From time to time, people would come to tell them that Zhong was still awake. When it was 5 in the morning, the two of them finally couldn't endure the torment of 2 days and 1 night. They directly fell asleep in this house. After blowing out the lights, the two of them laid down for less than a quarter of an hour before a series of gong sounds rang out. The two of them opened their hazy eyes and looked around as if someone owed them tens of thousands of strings of coins. Lord, it's not good. It's on fire. The granary in the yamen is on fire. A person who specialized in helping to keep watch at night hurried in and shouted loudly to the two of them. The two of them had not slept well. It was not as good as hugging a woman at home. Now that they had just fallen asleep, the granary was on fire. The two of them could not wait to find someone to bite. If it's on fire, go and save it. Why did you call us? Registrar Zhon was still in a daze. When he heard that the granary was on fire, he immediately shouted. Deputy County Magistrate Xiao was more alert. He asked, say it again. Where is it on fire? The granary in the yamen. It's the one where the rent is kept. Lord, are we going or not? The person repeated and asked carefully. He also knew that the two of them had just fallen asleep. There was actually no food in the granary. Go, how can we not go? That Zhong is not asleep now. If he goes, how can we not go? After all, the granary is on fire. How can there be no food? It's clearly written on the account book. Brother Shang Yun, hurry up and get up. Deputy County Magistrate Xiao said helplessly and began to put on his clothes. Registrar Jean also got up and slowly put on his clothes in a daze. The two of them used a full 15 minutes to put on their clothes and ran out of the house to the granary. When the two of them reached the place, there were already many Yamen runners and commoners helping to put out the fire. Zhong was also dressed neatly and was at the side giving orders. From time to time, he would ask loudly, "Why are the Deputy County Magistrate and Registrar not here yet? Isn't their house nearby? They are receiving a salary from the Imperial Court. Why can't they find someone at this crucial time?" The Yamen runners knew where the two of them went. They should be thinking of bad ideas again. However, the commoners did not know. When they heard Zhong's words, they also started to complain. At the same time, they praised the new county magistrate. The hearts of the people were a very mysterious thing. Now, the deputy county magistrate and registrar were gradually losing. Chapter 317. The two of them wanted to show off and change the common people's opinion. However, just as they rushed out, Zhong shouted, "Registrar Jean, Deputy County Magistrate Xiao, don't be a hindrance. Why are you carrying an empty bucket over there? Is this how you usually do things? Is this how irresponsible you are? Now is not the time for county magistrate when. I won't allow the people in the Yamen to be like before. They can't do anything well and don't think about the common people. Put away your previous practices. Why are you here now? If we were really waiting for you, the house would have been burned down. You can't do anything right but spoil everything." Hearing Zhong's words, Deputy County Magistrate Xiao and Registrar Jean were stunned. They didn't know what to say. What Zhong said was like a slap to their faces. Especially the common people who came to help. They all looked at them with disgust. If it wasn't for the light of the fire, they wouldn't have noticed it. "Lord Zhong, you just came a little early. It's not like we didn't come here. We were sleeping. You can't just wake up every once in a while, right?" Deputy County Magistrate Xiao retorted discontentedly. "Came a little early? Do you know when I came here? I have been looking at the case files all night. As the Deputy County Magistrate, you are supposed to help the county magistrate do things. The county magistrate has come here first, but you, as the deputy county magistrate, haven't arrived yet. You sleep, but Bienran doesn't sleep. Look at the common people, they don't sleep. Are you a pig?" At this time, Zhong could promote his reputation, so he didn't show any mercy and said all the harsh words. No one could find fault with his words. After all, the common people saw what happened. The common people didn't know that the two of them had just slept and drank some wine. They only saw that when the fire started, the county magistrate rushed out from the courtyard behind Jinlai building and led people to put out the fire. The deputy county magistrate and the registrar didn't appear until now. They woke up later than them. No one knew who started to shout, "County Magistrate Zhong is a good official." The rest of the people started to shout as well. As they shouted, they tried to put out the fire. The water buckets in the hands of the registrar official and the deputy magistrate official were also taken away. The two of them stood there and wanted to say something, but they realized that their words were suppressed by the surrounding voices. No one could hear them. Zhong was still there with a simple loudspeaker made of iron sheet, which was large in the front and small in the back. The surrounding people and Yamen runners all listened to his orders. He didn't know how the fire started. Buckets of water were poured in, but it didn't have any effect. After the fire was slightly smaller, it suddenly grew bigger. When the sun was about to rise, the fire was almost done burning. Only then did it become a little smaller. However, standing here, they could still feel a wave of hot air blowing against their faces. As the sun rose, Zhong directly said, "Later on, don't rush back. Come to Jinlai building to eat something. Thank you for helping to put out the fire at night. Otherwise, the fire might have jumped into the houses. That would be a real disaster." After working for so long, the common people were already tired and were preparing to go back. When they heard the county magistrate's words, they burst into cheers. Usually, they didn't dare to eat at Jinlai Building. The food there was extremely expensive. Now, they had a chance to go there. All of this was because of the new county magistrate. Deputy Magistrate Xiao and Registrar Official Zhon, you two stay here and check how the fire started. You can't just occupy this place and do nothing. The rest of you, follow me. Zhong ordered 2 people with ugly expressions to stay here and investigate. Those Yamen runners and common people were called by him to go to Jinlai Building. At this time, Jinlai Building had already prepared some porridge, side dishes, and buns. The common people and Yamen runners crowded around Zhong and left, leaving Deputy Magistrate Xiao and Registrar Official Zhon there looking at each other. They really didn't understand what happened tonight. The past 4 hours made them feel like 2 months had passed. In the beginning, when their buckets were snatched back, they just wanted to take a look. However, they couldn't stand the disdainful looks of the common people who passed by them after getting water. They had no choice but to find a big wooden basin. They went to the well and waited for others to fill the basin with water so that they could carry it back to put out the fire. When they were working just now, they didn't notice it. Now that they stopped, they felt uncomfortable all over. They stood there with their eyelids closed and their bodies swayed back and forth. They really wanted to go back and sleep, but they didn't dare to. Only when the cold morning wind blew did they feel better. Brother Byong, what should we do? Zhong asked us to find the cause of the fire. Where should we start? Registrar Official Zhon said gloomily. Deputy Magistrate Xiao also didn't understand. What he didn't understand was not how the fire started, but why did it burn for such a long time? The warehouse was already empty. Why couldn't it be put out after burning for such a long time? Thinking of this, Deputy Magistrate Xiao said to Registrar Official Zhon, I'll go to the granary and see what's going on. After saying this, Deputy Magistrate Xiao directly walked over there. He said that he wanted to go to the granary to see, but in fact, there was no more granary here. It had already been pulled down by someone to put out the fire. Registrar Official Zhon followed behind. The 2 of them walked one after another to the place where the heat was still spreading out. When they walked, the sound of water splashing could be heard under their feet. It was obvious how much water had been poured just now. When they got closer, the 2 of them were stunned at the same time. No wonder the fire lasted for such a long time. Who brought the grain here? No, it's not grain. It looks like straw. Why did they bring so much straw here? Deputy Magistrate Xiao finally realized something. The reason why it took so long to put out the fire was that there was a lot of straw in the granary. After walking around the granary, the 2 of them found that the fire was still burning. When they were thinking about what to do, a government runner who had just returned from Jinlai Tower came over with a big steamed bun in his mouth. He was eating so happily that Deputy Magistrate Xiao and Registrar Official Zhon couldn't help but feel greedy. Officers, you're still here? The food over there is delicious. If you don't believe me, take a look at this steamed bun of mine. It's filled with meat. Why don't you have a taste? The government runner was concerned about the 2 of them. He gave the steamed bun to the 2 of them. You can eat it. We're not hungry. Do you know what happened to the straw in the granary? Deputy Magistrate Xiao really didn't want to eat the food with black handprints. Even if the 2 of them were hungry, they couldn't eat it. After hearing this, the man put another steamed bun into his mouth. He chewed hard and swallowed half of it. Then he said, the straw was sent here by the county magistrate in the middle of the night. He said that the government runners in the Yamen don't even have hot water to drink. With these straw, we can cook 2 meals a day for the government runners in the county. Officer, now that all the straw has been burned, what can we do in the future? It's a pity. Someone must be up to no good and doesn't want us to eat hot food and drink hot water. Deputy Magistrate Xiao and Registrar Official Zhon listened to the government runners' words and felt that their status had dropped a little. They looked at each other and really couldn't figure out how the fire started. These straw were only controlled now. No one knew what was going on inside. Registrar official Jean found a pole that was used to prop up the wall just now and pulled it up among the straw. It was fine if he didn't touch it. Once he touched it, the straw with sparks inside was blown by the wind and burned again. With the help of the wind, the fire that was put out just now became bigger. The two of them had no choice but to call the government runner who came to watch. The three of them started to put out the fire with water. The government runner had already done a lot of work. Now that he was full, he didn't have much strength when he started to work again. He walked back and forth slowly. Most of the water was poured by Registrar official Jean and the deputy magistrate. The two of them were tired, but they didn't dare to ignore it. If a bundle of burning straw flew up and fell on other houses, their responsibility would be even greater. They were asked to stay here and guard. How could they stay like this? Fortunately, the surrounding area had been demolished and quarantined. The fire didn't spread to other houses. It only burned in that place. The two of them worked for another hour. Zhong finally came back with those people who had finished eating. Once the fire started again, Zhong first shouted for everyone to help put out the fire. Then he said to Deputy Magistrate Xiao and Registrar official Jean, "What else can the two of you do? You can also make the fire start by just watching here. Do you know how to start the fire?" The Registrar official Jean and the Deputy Magistrate shook their heads lightly. Now the two of them had no mood to refute. They were as tired as two dead dogs. If it wasn't for the fact that they directly collapsed here and didn't want to be seen by the people, they really wanted to sleep and didn't want to care about anything. Until now, they had not rested for 2 days and 2 nights. If they continued like this, they would be exhausted to death. After Zhong finished talking to the two of them, he started to give instructions again. After 2 hours, there were still people turning the straw over and asking people to water it. Finally, the fire was completely put out. "All right, let's start to work. We can't do nothing all day. Last night, I looked through the cases of the 120 people and found that some of them shouldn't have been sentenced. The two of you write a document to change the sentence and I will let them go." Zhong took out the case files from nowhere and asked the two of them to change the sentence. "Your Excellency, this can't be done. This can't be changed easily. We have to look through the cases one by one," Registrar official Jean said. Chapter 318. This man's name is Li Yuan. He owes 2 buckets of rent. But it says that he gave it to the village chief. How can this be judged directly? Someone, go to Wangshan village and find the village chief and ask him clearly. Registrar Jean, let's look at the next case while we wait. This is, Zhong was really talking to the registrar and deputy county magistrate one by one. This went on until noon. There were 2 cases that needed to be locked up for a few more days and the rest had to be released. This was only 45 cases, but Zhong was still full of energy. Deputy Xiao and Registrar Jean nodded their heads from time to time. Both of them wanted to sleep, but since Zhong was standing, they could only stand. Originally, they didn't want to release these people. When they arrested these people with county magistrate Wen, it was to demonstrate their power. If it was a normal day, they would have a lot of excuses to make Zhong unable to release them. But today was different. They hadn't slept for 2 days and 2 nights. They had also done so much work. Now, they had been standing for the whole morning. Their stomachs were already empty, so they could only drink some water from time to time. Finally, Deputy Xiao, who was the smartest, couldn't hold on any longer. He said to Zhong as if he was begging, "Sir, I think what you said this morning is right. These people should be locked up or released. You can do as you see fit." "I agree. Registrar Jean, what about you? You can't just let them go. There are some people who borrowed money from my family and can't pay it back. If you let them go, who else can pay me back? Don't you want your family's money?" Registrar Jean was already in a half-awake state. When he heard Deputy Xiao's words, he directly said what was in his heart. As soon as he finished speaking, he reacted. It was too late for him to explain anything. Zhong slammed his hand on the table and said, "As officials of the imperial court, you actually dared to release money to the people. How dare you? Let's talk about this after we finish the case files. Now, all of you, prepare the case files for me." "Sir, you don't have to do it. Just like what Deputy County Magistrate Xiao said just now, you can do whatever you want." At this moment, Registrar Jean was completely sober. "That's good. I'll take care of these cases. You can go and write the documents." "Did you release any money?" Zhong asked again. Naturally, the two of them would not admit it. They picked up the case files and went to edit them. This matter needed to be reported when the time came. The two of them wanted to quickly edit it and go to bed. Zhong looked at the two people leaving and smiled. He asked the Yamen runners to find the scribe and said to them, "Write the notice now. It says that Registrar Jean and Deputy County Magistrate Xiao of the Yamen were framed by someone who said that they were giving out money. There is no such thing at all. If someone used their name to give out money, there is no need to return it. Just write it like this. If you write it like this, the people won't be able to understand it. It's already noon. Hold on and write a few more pieces. After you finish, come to Jinlai restaurant for lunch. We can't let some rascals slander Registrar Jean and Deputy County Magistrate." The scribe didn't expect the county magistrate to be so ruthless. They knew how much money the Registrar Jean and Deputy County Magistrate had given out. If they counted carefully, it was at least 3,000 strings of coins. The money that they earned in the past few years, other than spending some on concubines, they didn't even buy land. Usually, they just ate the money or lived a carefree life. If all the money was gone, wouldn't the two of them go crazy? But the county magistrate asked them to write, who dared to not do it? In just 2 days, the county magistrate had beaten the Registrar Jean and Deputy County Magistrate to the point that they didn't have the strength to fight back. The scribe took pleasure in their misfortune as they wrote. Who asked them to not get much of the money? All of them added up to less than 5%. The rest of the money went into the hands of County Magistrate Wen and 2 other people. Now, County Magistrate Wen was still asking people to come out, but these 2 people's money was gone in the blink of an eye. Registrar Jean and Deputy County Magistrate Xiao didn't know that Zhong was playing tricks on them. They were still drinking tea and resisting the sleepiness. They corrected the 120 or so case files. Each of them divided half of the files. When they saw the contents, they found an excuse to acquit them. They just hoped that they could finish correcting the files as soon as possible. There were 2 guards brought by Zhong at the door of the house where the 2 of them were staying. They didn't let them sleep. There were also guards outside the Yamen. Other than the people who came to complain, no other people were allowed to enter, especially those who came to look for the Registrar Jean and Deputy County Magistrate. The 2 of them corrected the files for 3 hours in the room. After they were done, they threw their pens away and didn't go home. They directly fell asleep at the table. At this time, the 2 guards didn't care anymore. They gathered the corrected files and handed them to Zhong. After Zhong stamped his seal, they could let the prisoners go. The door of the prison cell was opened from the outside with a bang. The afternoon sun shone in. The prisoners who entered from the door couldn't help but squint their eyes to look outside. They wanted to see if there was another unlucky person who was locked up or if there was a family member who occasionally came to take a look. Zhong personally stood at the door of the prison cell. An unpleasant smell rushed out from the inside. It made people's eyes sour and their mouths and noses tighten. After a while, the smell gradually subsided. Zhong then took out the 120 or so case files. He took out one of them and said, "Fan Yu, locked up for theft. It's time to release you. Go back and do your job properly. Don't ever do anything illegal again." A cheer came from the prison cell. Then, it turned into wailing. A Yamen runner went in and unlocked the cell. The person called Fan Yu staggered out. He didn't dare to look outside and used his hands to cover his eyes. He wanted to wait for a while before leaving. Xu Yang, locked up for unpaid rent. After investigation, it was found that he didn't owe any rent and taxes. Released without charge. Zhong continued to read out another person's name. Similarly, the sound of crying came from there. Zhong's mood wasn't good either. Now that he was released, how was he going to account for the time he wasted in prison? There was one less worker in his family. How was he going to account for this? But this was all he could do. There was no other way. Zhong Lingqi, locked up for lack of money to eat. Released without charge. Zhong read out the names one by one. Every time he called out a person, that person would do something that was close to crazy. Those who were locked up were really wronged. Those whose names were called were happy. Those whose names weren't called out suddenly realized that they were going to be released today. Would they be included? Sir, is there anyone called Little 8 who is going to be released? His surname is Wang. A prisoner couldn't help but ask. What do you mean by sir? Sir is the new county magistrate of Huayuan County. Wait, one by one. If you call out again, you will continue to be locked up. A Yamen runner at the side reprimanded loudly. The person who was reprimanded didn't look unhappy at all. Instead, he shouted happily, God, you finally opened your eyes. It's changed, there's a new county magistrate. The other prisoners who were locked up also shouted. In the entire prison, there was only one person who wasn't happy. It was pockmarked Zhong. He was locked up alone in a room. The four sides weren't fences, but walls. He also heard the shouting outside. However, he was locked up because of this new county magistrate. Another Yamen runner also took this opportunity to flatter Zhong. He shouted into the room, lower your voices. Do you know who our new county magistrate is? He is the top scholar in this imperial examination. He could have been a 6th-rank official in the capital, but he insisted on coming to our county to be a 7th-rank county magistrate. Sir is not only talented, but also loves the people. In order to solve the case, he didn't even care about his son's injury. Also, Sir has a lot of money. He won't collect more taxes and rent for himself. As the bailiff shouted, the people in the cell listened quietly. They were not in a hurry to go out. After listening to the bailiff's words, the people in the cell cheered. Zhong didn't stop them. He just let the Yamen runner talk. This was a reputation. After these people went out, they would help to spread it. He read out the names one by one. When these people came out, they didn't leave immediately. They covered their eyes and waited for them to get used to it. They wanted to take a good look at the new county magistrate so that they could tell their families. When the last prisoner came out, the door of the cell was closed again. These people were almost used to it. They carefully looked at Zhong. Zhong stood there with a righteous face and let them look at him. While they were looking, 2 servants of the Zhong family pushed a cart to Zhong. One of them said to him, Master, we have brought the money you asked us to send. You can compensate them with 3 copper coins per day based on the number of days they are innocent and the number of days they are guilty. Zhong understood when he heard this. This money was sent by his son. When the time came, the money would be deducted from the Yamen. There was no such law, but there was still a way to deduct the money. He felt that in this way, these people wouldn't have no money when they go back. If there was an emergency at home, they could use the money. He said, well, good. Let me see how long they are locked up. Don't go yet. Wait for me to compensate you. Zhong agreed and said to those who were about to leave. Those people were already very happy when they came out. They didn't expect that there would be compensation money. Where did this come from? It had never happened before, especially the person who was locked up for 3 years. At this time, he couldn't tell if he was sad or happy. He could take away 3 strings of money, but no one came to visit him in 3 years. He didn't know how they were doing. Zhong flipped through the files one by one and called out a person's name. That person took the money, knelt down and kowtowed 3 times before leaving. One by one, it took an hour for all of them to receive the money and leave their fingerprints on it. Chapter 319. When it was almost night time, Registrar Jean woke up in a daze. He was hungry and saw that County Deputy Xiao was still sleeping beside him. A long line of saliva flowed out of his mouth. He gently pushed him until he woke up and said, "Brother Byong, wake up. Eat something and go back to sleep. We didn't accomplish anything today." County Magistrate Xiao opened his hazy eyes and looked around. Only then did he remember that he and Registrar Jean had fallen asleep in the room. When he thought of what they had done before he fell asleep, he felt a surge of anger and said to Registrar Jean, "We can't let go of what happened today. When the time comes, we will take revenge together. Let's go out to eat. If we don't go to Jinlai restaurant, why should we let him earn money?" Registrar Jean was also angry. He nodded and followed County Deputy Xiao out of the room. When they arrived at the entrance of the Yamen, they saw that their families were waiting there anxiously. As soon as the family saw the two of them come out, they immediately ran to them and cried. The two of them were baffled by the crying. "What's the matter? Tell me slowly. What's the hurry? Is there anything that I can't solve in Huiyuan County?" County Deputy Xiao asked the new concubine that he had found 2 months ago. "Master, it's bad. Our family's money is all gone. Master, what should we do?" The concubine said while sobbing. "Why is the money gone? Where did it go? Isn't there money outside? Don't tell me you want to take it all back at once." County Deputy Xiao said again. "Old master, where's the money? The money outside isn't ours anymore. There's a notice in the Yamen saying that someone is slandering Old Master and Registrar Jean for secretly releasing money. There's no such thing at all. All the money released under Old Master and Registrar Jean's name doesn't need to be returned. Old Master, we have no more money." The concubine finally explained the matter clearly. Registrar Jean's family also said it at this time. Ah. When Deputy County Magistrate Xiao heard the news, he shouted again and again, louder and louder. Registrar Jean, on the other hand, just stood there with his mouth open. He didn't say a word and just stared into the distance. "Master, what's wrong? Master, don't be like this. This concubine is scared. Master, quickly think of a way. We can't just watch our family's money disappear. Master, say something." Deputy County Magistrate Xiao's concubine was frightened when she saw her master shouting. She grabbed Deputy County Magistrate Xiao's shoulders and shook him hard. Registrar Jean's family was experienced. When they saw Registrar Jean in such a state, they immediately slapped him, waking him up from his daze. "I'll fight it out with him. He actually dares to do this." After Registrar Jean woke up, he immediately rushed into the Yamen, wanting to fight with Zhong. Naturally, the guards at the door would not let him in. One of them raised his leg and kicked Registrar Jean, saying, "You're not allowed to enter the Yamen. Registrar Jean, you have to think carefully. Did you put the money away or not? If you didn't put it away, what can you say? If you put it away, then you..." The rest of the sentence was clear. Registrar Jean just remembered that this matter couldn't be said openly. If he said it out loud, not only would he lose the money, but he would also lose his clothes. He might even be locked up in jail. After being stunned for a while, he imitated what his family did to him and gave Deputy County Magistrate Xiao a slap. Deputy County Magistrate Xiao, who was slapped, stopped shouting. He touched his face with his hands, opened his mouth and gasped for breath for a while. He then closed his eyes and stopped moving. After waiting for a full 15 minutes, he recovered and said, "Brother Shangyun, this time we admit it. Who asked us to have something on him? From now on, this is gone." Isn't it just some money? If it was in the past, it wouldn't be easy, but now it's easy. Yes, it will be soon. It seems that we have underestimated him. Isn't that so? Brother Byong, it's all my fault. If I didn't say it out loud, nothing would have happened. Registrar Jean felt that he had said something wrong. Deputy County Magistrate Xiao didn't think so. "Brother Shangyun, even if you didn't say it out loud, can't he ask? As long as he inquired a little, he would know that we put the money away. He didn't expect that today would happen." He thought that with his identity, those who borrowed money wouldn't dare to ignore it. But he didn't expect that it was because of his identity that they didn't have to return the money. Do you think we dare to ask them for money again? Then he will have an excuse. This time he didn't tell us directly because he was afraid that we wouldn't admit it. He is waiting for us to ask for money. We can't give him the chance. Yes, we can't give him the chance. Let's think about it carefully. There's no hurry. We underestimated him this time, but we won't do it again. How should we find those businessmen first? Registrar Jean also thought it through and said at the side. But when he thought that his money was gone, his face didn't look good. When the two of them were about to find the businessman, the servant left behind to look after the businessman came and told them that those people went to the riverside today. They planned to stay at the wharf and wouldn't come back. When the two of them heard the news, they were not surprised. Instead, they were happy. Registrar Jean said, "Brother Byong, as long as they still want the land over there, they will have to give us money. We can't give them less money. We just lost some of it, but now we have more." Deputy County Magistrate Xiao also thought so. Wei Wei nodded, "That's right. But that person's place is not good. We have to think of a way. For example, the 100-year-old ginseng." At that time, we don't have to bear the responsibility. The two of them who were in a good mood didn't feel sleepy anymore. They brought their family members to eat together. Along the way, they laughed from time to time. When evening came, the sun was setting slowly like an egg yolk. There were no clouds in the sky in the west, only some tireless birds chirped and flew past. A few trucks that were specially used to pull trucks slowly moved forward on the potholed road. Smoke could already be seen rising up in front of them. The wheels rolled past, leaving marks on the ground. There were also ruts left behind on the black coal. The driver looked up and finally breathed a sigh of relief. He shouted to the others, "Hurry up. When we reach the place, we can go back. If we can't, we can sleep there for a night." Following his shout, the team moved faster. Some people in the village also saw the people coming here. Some ran back to call for help, and some came to ask. The people who ran to the front looked at the trucks and asked, "Are they sending food and other things to us?" "Yes, Doggy Tien has told you, right? These things are all sent to you. It's enough for you to eat for a month. After a few days, people will come to you to do things. Your road is too difficult. It needs to be repaired." The leader agreed and started to complain about the road again. He was going to go back and tell the master that if he took a fancy to this place, he had to fix the road first. Otherwise, it would be too much of a waste of time going back and forth. "Yes, it needs to be repaired. When we get paid, we will find a way to repair it." The leader was a little embarrassed. There was no other way. The village was too poor. The leader drove the truck forward and said, "You don't need to pay. You just need to put in some effort. Our master will be in charge of this place. He is your county magistrate." "Yes, I know. The master is easy to manage. In the past, who would care about our place? Last time, county magistrate when sent people to rob us, but we beat them away. Now, the master won't. When he comes to our village, we will carry him all the way." The leader of the village kept saying good things. He was sincere. The county magistrate said that he would send them food, and he really did. With these food, they didn't need to eat the disgusting wild vegetables and elm tree money. At this time, Doggy Tien rushed out with the young men in the village. When they came close, they pushed and pulled. They began to move forward. After walking for another half an hour, they reached the village. At this time, the people in the village who were cooking stopped. Men and women of all ages gathered there to wait. Yesterday, when Doggy Tien came back, many of them didn't believe it. Now that they saw these things being sent, their faces were filled with cheerful smiles. The village head of Elm Tree Village was an old man. He held a stick and waited for the things to be sent. When he began to unload them, the old man spoke first. "Don't move. Listen to me." After shouting these two words, he coughed. After a while, he recovered. He looked at the villagers who were looking at him motionlessly and said, Huiyuan County has a new county magistrate. Ah, this county magistrate sent things to our village first and then asked us to work. Don't think that you can repay this kindness by working. Even if you do work, when the county magistrate has something to do in the future, you have to rush forward. No one will be stupid enough to send things first and then ask you to work. The county magistrate can't bear to see our village not being able to eat. When the county magistrate sent things to us, he must have not thought about what to ask us to do. At that time, if anyone doesn't think that the food is earned by his own work, this old man will beat him to death with this stick. Do you hear me? The villagers listened quietly. When the old man finished, they shouted in unison, "Yes, we hear you. Get to work. Cook something delicious. Let these people who sent things to us eat. Tonight, they will stay in the village. They are all our benefactors." The old man waved the stick in his hand and coughed again. A child came over to massage his back. Those who could work began to unload things. Bags of rice and flour were unloaded, and barrels of oil were also carried down. The people in charge of cooking first came over to take some meat and oil, and then returned to the house to work. Chapter 320. While the people of Elm Tree Village were happy, Deputy County Magistrate Xiao and Registrar Jean ignored their tiredness and asked someone to take them to the dock. They sat in the same car and talked with their eyes closed while resting. "Brother Shang-yun, when we get there, you tell them the truth. Tell them that if they want the land, they have to talk to Zhongzhong. If Zhongzhong doesn't agree, they can forget about getting the land. I will give them an idea and ask them to find the ginseng. As long as they find the ginseng, it will be easy," Deputy County Magistrate Xiao said to Registrar Jean. At this time, they had to arrange their own division of labor. Otherwise, when the land was taken by Zhongzhong and the money was taken by Zhongzhong, they would lose more than they gained. Registrar Jean also knew this and said, "When the time comes, it will be up to me. I will be responsible for reporting some of the things that the county magistrate did. As long as I report it, he won't dare to give it to us. If we want to get the land, we have to give both of us benefits. Yes, that's it. Not only that, when they do business here, we will share a part of it. No matter what kind of business it is, we can pay for it ourselves." Deputy County Magistrate Xiao found that it was impossible to continue to give out money. He had to find a way to make money continuously. He didn't believe that those businessmen would dare to disagree. The two of them discussed for a while and then lay there to sleep. They only slept for less than an afternoon and had not fully recovered. Registrar Jean kept muttering in his sleep. Occasionally, he would mention Zhongzhong's name. It seemed that he lost a lot of money this time. The businessmen were indeed at the dock now. Ernu led them to walk around and let them see what these places were suitable for. As for the dock, they were not in charge of it. Bai Shu's nephew had bought this place and made it similar to the dock at Little Luoshui. The only pity was that there was no such mountain and they couldn't make a lake. The place he chose was a wasteland and now there were some restaurants and warehouses being built. He planned to operate the restaurants and rent out the warehouses at the same time. Everything was done according to Little Luoshui's plan. In the future, the people who would be used to carry goods at the dock would also be found in Huiyuan County. This could provide many jobs for Huiyuan County. At this time, Ernu was talking to those masters about what kind of situation would happen when this place developed well in the future. In fact, the merchants didn't need to listen to Ernu to know that the example of Little Luoshui was there. Otherwise, they wouldn't have come here to look for Deputy County Magistrate Xiao and Registrar Jean. Who knew that they would come at such a coincidental time? In just a short time, they were able to occupy the fertile land as if it was a wasteland. However, they were found out by the new county magistrate. Everything was over. The businessman also knew that Ernu was the new county magistrate's man. When they were brought out to see the place today, they thought that the new county magistrate just didn't want to give the benefits to the Registrar Jean and Deputy County Magistrate. It was not that he didn't want them to occupy the land. In the future, the boats here will not only be used to transport goods and people, they can also help people from the other side to send letters to the capital. Especially for some scholars, the things that they write will not be known by others. Our restaurants here will be in charge of spreading the news. Every few days, we will invite some scholars to various places for a gathering. Along the way, it will be all money. Ernu continued to talk. The businessmen really didn't know about this. They listened attentively. Ernu continued, also, in the future, we will make a place like the pear garden. Maybe the emperor will be happy to come and take a look. Then this place will be different. You all have to think carefully about where to choose. This, Brother Ernu, if this place is also called the pear garden, will the emperor be unhappy? When a businessman heard this, he felt that countless money was about to be thrown at him. However, he was a little worried about the name. Then let's change the name. When the time comes, we will invite the people from the pear garden in the capital to come and compete. They are not ordinary people. There won't be many people willing to pay 100 copper coins for their singing, dancing, playing, etc., right? Ernu continued to speak according to Zhong Xiaobao's words. The businessmen were all thinking about how much money they could earn when the time came, but they didn't think about how many people were here. In such a joyous atmosphere, the businessmen had forgotten about the price they had to pay. The businessman who asked just now finally couldn't help but ask directly, Brother Ernu, what does your master want us to do? If it's about money, give us a number. We will think about it. It shouldn't be too difficult. The other businessmen also thought about this matter. They looked at Ernu and waited for him to give a number. They felt that this was the reason why the new county magistrate asked Ernu to bring them here. However, Ernu shook his head. Don't you know what kind of status my master has? Zhangjia Zhuangzi belongs to my master. Little Luo Shui also belongs to my master. How much money can you take out? What you need to do is to do other things. My master doesn't have the final say on how much land to occupy. In the Yamen, there is still the deputy county magistrate and the registrar. Especially the registrar. He can directly report some things to them. Do you see any place that isn't fertile land? Only this pier occupies a saline alkali land. We have to think of a way. After Ernu's words, the businessmen were in a dilemma. They really didn't know what to do. If they were to give money, how much would they have to give to make the other party satisfied? At this moment, the car of Deputy County Magistrate Xiao and Registrar Zhon arrived. The two of them didn't care about whether the car was bumpy or not. They slept soundly in the car. When the car stopped, they were still snoring. The servant plucked up the courage to wake the two of them up, and then brought the wet towels to wipe their faces. We've arrived. What time is it now? Deputy County Magistrate Xiao wiped his face and asked. In reply to Master, we have arrived. It will be midnight in half an hour. Get out of the carriage and take a look. The brightly lit place in front of us is the pier here. The merchants should all be there. Should I go and inform them and ask them to come over, or do you want to go there personally? The servant said respectfully as he pointed in the direction of the room. Deputy County Magistrate Xiao hesitated and said, I'll go there later. We can eat something there. At this moment, Registrar Zhon didn't care anymore. He left everything to Deputy County Magistrate Xiao. The two of them tidied up their clothes and continued to head there. The businessmen were almost done drinking. They kept asking Ernu about things. For example, what did the county magistrate like? What did his family like? They started to think of a solution. Ernu, what do you think about sending a pretty concubine to your master? I heard that he only has one wife. How can one be enough? In the future, he will be in a big family. He can have as many as he wants. A businessman thought of the most commonly used method. He didn't want to send money, but people. He wanted to find a pretty woman to send to Zhongzhong. Ernu shook his head like a rattledrum. If you really dare to send a woman, don't even think about occupying any land here. Master will kick you out of Huiyuan County. In the future, you won't even be able to take this route by boat. Ernu knew his master well. He wouldn't look for another woman. He usually treated his wife well. Moreover, he had a son who was protective of his mother. No other woman would dare to enter the house. This kind of thing must never happen. The businessman who came up with this idea was obviously disappointed. He carefully thought about it again. At this time, the people at the dock had already noticed the car coming from the other side. They asked from the side, "Is there anyone else?" "They're coming from that side." Everyone was eating and drinking at the pier. They looked in the direction that the man pointed. Sure enough, there were 2 cars coming towards them, one in front and one behind. There were lanterns in front of the cars. They were a little far away, so they couldn't see what was written. When the cars got closer, they knew who was coming. The businessmen felt that things were not going well. They originally wanted to settle the matter of the county magistrate first before looking for the registrar official and the deputy county magistrate. Now that these 2 people came here, they must have known that Ernu was from the county magistrate's family and brought them here. Could it be that this matter of occupying land was going to be settled? While the businessmen were thinking, the people at the pier had already sailed the boats to pick them up. 2 people came down from the carriage one after another. With the help of the lanterns, who else could it be but the registrar official and the deputy county magistrate? Ernu saw the uneasiness of the merchants and persuaded them, "It's okay. I'll go to the back and take a look. You guys talk to them. It's just right. If you can convince them, then it'll be easy to talk to my master." "Thank you so much, Brother Ernu. Then I will have to trouble you. We will talk to Deputy County Magistrate Xiao and Registrar Official Zhon." A businessman saw that Ernu took the initiative to go to the back and was finally relieved. Not long after Ernu left, the registrar official and the deputy county magistrate arrived. The businessmen all stood up and complimented them. "How is it? How is it?" Deputy county magistrate Xiao asked deliberately. The businessmen who had just been relieved were worried again. They did not know why these 2 people came here. At this time, the businessman who talked to Ernu just now replied, "We just want to take a look. No matter which land we choose, we will need the deputy county magistrate and the registrar official. Both of you came at the right time. We have just eaten. Let's eat together." Deputy county magistrate Xiao looked at the dishes that were almost finished and did not expose them. He nodded and said, "Okay. I don't know how you will find the county magistrate after you choose the land. You should know that the county magistrate's family is not short of money. Deputy county magistrate Xiao is right. We are also worried about it. Please help us to smooth things over. We will definitely reward you handsomely. The 5,000 strings of coins that we agreed on before will not be less." Another businessman took the opportunity to say. Chapter 321. Xiao Bao, do you think they will be fooled? What if they don't do what you want them to do? Won't our plan be in vain? On the couch, Wang Huan wasn't sure if those people would follow Zhong Xiaobao's plan and walk all the way down to improve Huiyuan County's economy. Zhong Xiaobao was not worried at all. It doesn't matter if they follow our plan or not. At most, we will continue our plan. As long as they still want to occupy this place, and as long as the county magistrate and the county magistrate still want to make more money, there will always be a plan that suits them. Today, my father is really good. He tricked them once. I guess they used a lot of loan sharks. Now, they are finished. There are only 2 kinds of people who can borrow money. One is gamblers, and the other is people who have difficulties in life or need money to treat their illness. Well, almost. Gamblers are lucky this time. Those people who have difficulties in life must be grateful to your father. They are not fools. Of course, they know the reason. Wang Huan did not expect Zhong Xiaobao's father to do such a big thing today. Speaking of gambling, Wang Huan had a new idea. She nudged Zhong Xiaobao and said, "Can we not let them gamble like this? We can help them gamble like lottery. In this way, they can be more stable. Then, we can earn a lot of money. We can set up a name and send a part of the money to disasters. Not in our name, but in the name of your father, the county magistrate, representing the imperial court and the emperor. During this process, we can use the money to invest and make more money. Is that okay?" "Sure, why not? But this money can't be earned by us. We should directly report it to the imperial court and let His Majesty deal with it directly. When the time comes, we'll pay a large portion of it and keep a small portion, or we'll pay all of it and let them send some money back. In fact, doing this is just to amass money. There's no way to ban gambling at all. Those who like to gamble will continue to gamble while buying lottery tickets. The only way is to catch them ruthlessly. Once caught, beat them ruthlessly. You can't punish them, because it's useless. After being punished, they'll think of gambling back the money they lost." Zhong Xiaobao agreed with Wang Huan's idea. It was not from the perspective of banning gambling, but to make money. As for banning gambling, the only way to catch them was to give them a few lashes or parade them through the streets. There was no such human rights here. Let everyone watch and scare those who gamble. Wang Huan also knew that this matter could never be stopped. He gambled until he lost his family fortune, and gambled until his wife and children were separated. It had never stopped. Will it work if we just catch them and beat them? What if they run to a hidden place to gamble? You'll know once you try. Increase the intensity. Unless the person is particularly addicted to gambling, no one will gamble when they can be caught at any time. You can let people report it. When the time comes, you can give them some rewards or something. As long as there are enough bailiffs, they can suppress it. Tomorrow, I'll tell my father and Sanshui County. People gamble whether they are poor or rich. Especially when there is no work to do, they will naturally gamble when they are bored. Go to sleep. Maybe there will be ginseng sent here tomorrow." As Xiaobao spoke, he felt sleepy. He turned around and fell asleep after a while. Wang Huan glanced at the candle that had not been extinguished. She muttered, "It's fine to give it a try. As long as you don't gamble like before, it's fine." She fell asleep too. Those who needed to sleep went to sleep, but some people were destined to not be able to sleep tonight. The merchants at the dock and the county magistrate talked about which piece of land they wanted. There were already people who went to buy ginseng. It was not easy to find 100-year-old ginseng, but if you wanted to buy it, there was still a chance to buy it. The county magistrate and the county magistrate were prepared to discuss with the merchants how to deal with the county magistrate. Now, they were only dealing with the land. They would think of a way to deal with Zhong himself later. The people of Yushu village could not sleep at night. They had a good meal today. Making dumplings took a lot of effort, so they made wontons. The children also ate a lot. They were all full and did not sleep at night. They came out to play. The adults were thinking about the future, so they chatted with their neighbors. Once they chatted, they did not want to sleep. Even the people from Zhongjia Zhuangzi who came to deliver things were pulled to talk to them. They asked how life was in Zhongjia Zhuangzi and what it would be like in the future. The people from Zhongjia Zhuangzi told the villagers the truth. They even told the villagers that in the future, this place would be like Zhongjia Zhuangzi. The villagers were all smiles when they heard this. There were also those who could not sleep. They were the prisoners who were released. With the money given by the county magistrate, they all ran back home like crazy. Some ran back home and their families were all there. They hugged each other and cried bitterly. When they took out the money again, their families were happy again. They started talking in the afternoon and talked until night time. However, there were also some who ran back to their homes and found that none of their families were there. They asked their neighbors, but the neighbors said that they did not know. These people could only cry by themselves. There was also one family who had not slept well for a few days. It was the Chen family of Zhuangzi, which was next to the Yuan family. When they found out that the old master of the Zhong family came to their county to be the county magistrate, they were afraid of revenge. They were so scared that they lit all the torches and lanterns at night. When they fell asleep, they would wake up with nightmares. The head of the family did not let the brother of the original concubine be the housekeeper anymore. He arranged for him to do odd jobs. The concubine did not go there often either. The reason why he kept the original steward Zhong was so that if the Zhong family came looking for trouble one day, he could hand this person over to take care of them. When different people experienced different things, the night finally passed. After dawn, the unbearable night and fear dissipated a lot. Life still had to go on. Even if there was only one prisoner left, as long as there was still hope for them to find their families, they would go and look for them. When the first ray of sunlight penetrated the sky and shone down, people got up and started to do their work. After the spring plowing, people also went to the fields to take a look. As long as the head of weeds grew, it had to be uprooted. The people who did business also set up their stalls or opened their shops. Some restaurants in the county were not open in the morning. They would only open at noon when there were more people. The only exception was Jinlai restaurant. They opened their doors early in the morning and prepared all kinds of porridge. Even if there were very few people who could come to eat, they still persisted. According to Xiao Bao's words, this was a habit. When the time came, this kind of restaurant would not only open in these places, but would also open in other prefectural roads. With the same signboard, as long as those who were in a hurry or had special things to do found that they could not eat elsewhere in the morning and could eat in this kind of restaurant in the morning, when the restaurant opened in other places in the future, this kind of thoughtfulness would continue. Zhong Xiaobao and Wang Huan ate in the courtyard. Zhong Xiaobao had to continue pretending to be sick. He could only continue to show his face outside after the merchants bought the land. Zhong, on the other hand, went to the restaurant to eat. There were already a lot of bailiffs and people working in the government office. Now, they were eating their breakfast here. It was a benefit. After all, the government office had no money. Although it wasn't cheap to buy breakfast in Jinlai restaurant, the cost was very low. Zhong didn't lack this money. It was not only the people who received the food, but also the servants who did odd jobs in the yamen. They were forgotten in the beginning and were later replaced. Now, they could also eat breakfast in the restaurant. All of this was arranged. Zhong could talk to the people in the yamen while eating, ask about things, and get closer to each other. It was better than just giving out food, especially if some people knew some gossip. "Sir, you are here. Please sit here." A bailiff was eating and talking with his colleagues. When he saw Zhong come in, he quickly stood up and pulled out an empty chair next to him. Zhong did not sit there. Instead, he pulled out a chair next to the bailiff and sat on it. He looked at the bailiff's food and said to the waiter, "A big bowl of tofu pudding and 2 side dishes. What fillings do you have for the buns today?" "Master, there are lamb, pork, onion, chives, eggs, and shrimp stuffing for the buns. There is no beef stuffing." "Which one do you want, master?" the waiter asked. The way he spoke was different from the others. He did not shout so loudly and did not count his lips. Zhong did not like to eat chives or anything else. He thought for a while and said, "Change it. No tofu pudding. Give me a big bowl of soy milk and a gin of fruit." "Master, please wait a moment. I will bring it to you right away." The waiter turned and ran away. Zhong then said to the 3 bailiffs who had already sat down at the table, "In the future, when you come here for breakfast, ask for a few more side dishes. It's not worth much. Do you think I can't even afford this?" Hearing the county magistrate call them master, the 3 bailiffs laughed. One of them said, "Sir, only you are so good to us. If we met other county bailiffs and told them, they would not believe us." "Oh, except for the one from Sanshui County. Your Zhuangzi is there. What's so good about it? I am counting on you to work hard in the future. What's the big deal about eating something? Come, eat. You guys eat first. My share will be here soon. No matter how many people are waiting, you have to prepare it for me first." "Right. Let's eat." Zhong appeared very amiable at this time. It was just like when he chatted with the villagers. When there was no official business, there was no need to keep a straight face. The bailiffs hesitated for a moment but still ate. At this time, the waiter brought the soy milk and youtiao. He also specially prepared a portion of stinky tofu for Zhongzhong. This was also not prepared for people. Otherwise, some people would not be willing to smell it. Since Zhongzhong liked it, he did not care about others. Chapter 322. Sir, don't you like tofu pudding? Why did you change it to soy milk? A Yamen runner asked in confusion as he recalled the exchange just now. Well, look, you can eat the steamed buns and drink the tofu pudding together. But this fruit is a little hard to chew directly. I like to drink it with this soy milk. There's no such good food now, unlike at home. At home, I drink milk. What do you think of this fruit? Zhongzhong explained what to eat and what to eat. Then he said, actually, you should eat porridge when eating buns. I don't like porridge, so I want tofu pudding. Generally speaking, tofu pudding is eaten with flatbread. I don't put sugar in my soy milk, and I don't put chives in my tofu pudding. Your Excellency, I understand now. If I eat the steamed buns and drink the soy milk, the fragrance of the steamed buns will be gone after a sip of the soy milk. Your Excellency, this is the first time I've eaten this fruit. It's delicious. The Yamen runner who asked the question nodded in agreement. As for whether it was true or not, it didn't matter. If Sir said to eat it this way, then it should be eaten this way. Another Yamen runner said, of course the fruit is delicious. It's fried with flour. Who can afford to eat it? It's just that we're living a good life by following Milord. Milord, don't worry, we'll listen to you in the future. We're not ingrates. Milord treats us well, so we'll help Milord get things done. Milord, what do you want to do? Let's not talk about official business. We'll talk about official business when we get to the Yamen. Why don't you take the opportunity to talk about other things now? Otherwise, don't blame me for not giving you a chance. Tell me, who do you have in your family? As long as it's a child, I can make clothes for you. If there's anyone in your family who's about to give birth, you must tell me. I can guarantee that your child will be born smoothly. Don't hide if someone in your family is sick. I'm different from others. When a Yamen runner is in trouble, he'll work hard. He can't wait until something happens to the orphan. The Yamen won't care about this part of the money, so I'll pay for it. As for whether people will call me stupid, I don't care. I have money, so there's nothing I can do about it, right? Zhongzhong began to follow Zhong Xiaobao's practice and arranged family matters for the bailiffs. Back then, Zhong Xiaobao had said that the job of a bailiff was a life and death situation. If you arrested them and they didn't resist, you should take care of them more often so that the bailiff would feel more at ease. What Zhongzhong said was the truth and he did not think much of it. He was used to it, but it was different in the ears of the bailiffs. These words were heartwarming. Thinking about the bailiffs of Sanshui County, no one felt that the county magistrate was joking. Some of the weak-willed ones already had red eyes. Zhongzhong quickly said, "What are you doing? When we reach the Yamen later, each of you will write down a list of things that happened in your homes. Now, tell me, did you hear anything strange? I'm a person who likes to inquire. After asking around, I found out about the top scorer. I'm just asking about the top scorer." The bailiffs were amused by these words again. They were all thinking about it. Suddenly, a bailiff at the table next to them asked, "Sir, how is your son? If he can't do it, let's take a break for 2 days. Everyone in the Yamen will go to the mountains to dig for ginseng." Zhongzhong did not expect the bailiffs to remember this matter. He had forgotten about it himself. He thought for a while and said, "Fortunately, in a few days, you will see him alive and kicking. At that time, you will have to lead him to play." The bailiffs expressed their knowledge one after another. Zhongzhong listened with a smile on his face. "My lord, I heard something this morning. There was a man named Zhong Qiong. After he was released, his family was gone. He cried all night. It's sad to talk about it. A Yamen runner suddenly said at this time. Oh, his family is gone. Then what is he doing now? Zhong did not expect such a thing. He also felt sad for the person named Zhong. I don't know. Sir, if you want to know, I'll go and ask around. Sir, it's easy for such a person to get into trouble. If he takes things too hard, it's fine if he dies, but what if he implicates others? The Yamen runner reminded. Oh, yes. You eat first. I forgot something. I will go back and get it. Zhong did not have a good way to solve this problem. He was ready to go to his son's place. Zhong Xiaobao and Wang Huan were eating there. When they saw their father come in and mention this matter, Zhong Xiaobao frowned and thought about it. Father, in fact, you can find something for the person named Zhong to do. That's good. Let him be a postman who specializes in delivering letters. If he can write, it'll be even better. He can carry the 4 treasures of the study with him. If the family wants to send the letter to someone who can't read, they can ask him to write for them. Now, he can send the letter to the county and then send it to the surrounding counties. If he can find someone to do this, then he can send it to the whole province. It will make him famous. He can also take care of the search. As long as he meets someone, he can help to contact them. In this way, when he becomes famous as a messenger, his family may be able to find him. He will feel the pain of not having a family. In the future, when he sends letters and searches, he will be more serious. Father, what do you think? Zhong Xiaobao came up with such an idea. Well, Xiaobao, do as you say. I will go back and ask someone to find him. In the future, he will be in charge of delivering letters around here. Zhong said happily, turned around and walked out quickly. Zhong Xiaobao continued to drink the soy milk. Wang Huan looked at him and suddenly said, Xiaobao, your mind is not so simple, right? Don't always have other intentions. I am a very simple person. Think about it. I came up with an idea in such a short time. How can I think about other things? Zhong Xiaobao said with an aggrieved face. Yes, you can. Tell me, what follow-up have you thought of? I won't let you spread it. Wang Huan didn't care about Zhong Xiaobao's expression at all. Zhong Xiaobao drank another mouthful of soy milk. Seeing that Wang Huan was still staring at him, he finally couldn't help but say, well, I'll say it. In fact, it's nothing. When they have more people, they will ask around when they send letters. Whether they are active or passive, they can get some seemingly insignificant news. You know the news, right? It's information. Do you still need me to say the importance of information? When they develop, we will provide them with help. When the time comes, the further they send the letters, the longer our information network will extend. Know yourself and know your enemy, and you will never be defeated. Just like you know that I have something else. Wang Huan suddenly laughed and pinched Zhong Xiaobao's face. You little brain. When you were thinking of a way for your father to settle down, one was to send letters seriously, and the other was to find his family. In the end, there was something hidden behind this matter, just for a short while. Inspiration, this is called inspiration. It can also be said to be talent. The most important thing. Hurry up and eat before it gets cold. Zhong Xiaobao felt that this matter wasn't worth exaggerating. It was just an idea, and it happened to be in such a situation. Zhong returned to the restaurant once again and told the Yamen runners about this matter. The Yamen runners expressed their approval, and some even suggested that everyone who wanted to find their family members should join in. This way, they could do things while looking for their family members. This matter was settled. The group of people ate breakfast, burped, and walked towards the Yamen. On the way, it was the first time that the commoners saw so many people from the Yamen working together. They all stopped to watch. One of the people who had eaten at Jinlai restaurant just now began to tell the story. A circle of people gathered around him, listening to him talk about how the Yamen runners didn't need to spend money to eat, how the county magistrate spoke kindly to the Yamen runners, and how he thought of a way to help a person who had just been released from prison. These were all things that the commoners were willing to listen to, especially when the county magistrate thought of a way to help a person who had just been released. Many of the commoners were moved, and they recounted this matter to everyone they met. When Deputy Xiao and Registrar Jean, who had stayed up the whole night, came back around noon, they could hear the commoners praising the new county magistrate. "Brother Byong, what exactly happened? It's only been one night, how did the commoners become like this?" When Registrar Jean heard the praises for the new county magistrate, he felt uncomfortable and worried. He was afraid that when the two of them worked together to drive the county magistrate away, the commoners wouldn't accept it. When that time came, they would send a report to the higher-ups and the higher-ups would send people to investigate. Where could Deputy Xiao find out? He also didn't know. He was also surprised and worried. How many days had Zhongzhong been here? Counting the days before and after, today should be the 4th day. What did he do in these 4 days? Why did the commoners praise him? Facing Registrar Jean's questioning gaze, he directly said, "How would I know? I'll know when I go back and ask later. There are many good things that the commoners have done for the officials." Those who should be dismissed have to be dismissed. Let's hurry up. Under his instructions, the carriage sped up a little. However, it didn't dare to go too fast. If it bumped into a commoner, the commoners would say anything. After a while, the carriage finally arrived at the Yamen. Registrar Jean and Deputy Xiao got off one after another. The Yamen runners standing there hurriedly greeted them. "Qi Ran, did something happen in the county?" Deputy Xiao asked one of the Yamen runners. "Sir, nothing happened." "Sir, did you hear that something happened?" The Yamen runner called Qi Ran asked doubtfully. "Yes, it's good that nothing happened. Is the county magistrate here?" Hearing the Yamen runner's words, Deputy Xiao didn't ask anything else. He couldn't ask the commoners why they all praised the county magistrate. It was obvious that they were jealous. "Sir, the county magistrate has been here for a long time. He said that he was waiting for the two of you to come back and meet him. There's something important." The Yamen runner replied again, "You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.